Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, also known as a punk with toys. You can call me either Punk or Lawrence. And today we are live again with a special guest, Jay Bartlett. How are you
Hey,
doing?
hey, buddy, how are you? Good to see you.
If you haven't been following Jan on YouTube and Instagram, there are links in the description to both his channel and his Instagram. But you should be following him because he puts out some really good content, and he puts out a lot of diverse content.
Thank you.
That if you're a gamer, you're probably gonna like. If you like movies, you catch movie stuff, and obviously there's some toy stuff on Friday night with Chad. So let's just get into it. I want to mention a couple things. You guys know me; I don't eat on camera. And I won't be eating today, but I do have a super dry mouth, dry throat, dry mouth. So if you see me gobbling down cough drops, that's the reason why. So I don't want people going, this guy's so rude. What's he doing?
Hey, I'm sure it's going to be okay, buddy. Don't even worry about it. You got a little cold. That's fine.
I took my customary nap before before my streams. I hate naps until I started doing this. And I think probably about 3 or 4 minutes into it, I'm like, I have enough time. Once I figured out how long it takes to get everything running, I'm like, I don't need an hour before a show to get started. I can take a nap.
Yeah, it's funny. And I think we're around the same. I know we're the same gen. I'm pretty sure we're the same age, dude. I'm 48.
I'll be 48 in December.
Yeah, I turned 48 this year. So we're the same gen. And it's funny how you look forward to that stuff now. It's really weird. It's like, oh, I can't wait to have a nap. It's like, remember when we were younger, it was all about, well, what kind of beer are we going to have? What bar are we going to? And now it's like, how long can I nap before I have to go back and do the thing, you know?
It's funny because I hate naps because I usually wake up groggy. So I've never liked naps.
Same.
But now it's like, especially because I know, like, I'm normally, especially on Mondays, I'm going past 12. And I don't go to sleep right away. It's like going to the gym. I'm riled up after a stream. I'll be up for an hour or two.
Yep.
And then I know it's not like my work changes. It's not like they go, oh, you got a late stream on Monday. Why don't you come in a little late on Tuesday?
Right.
So anyway, we got into your age, obviously. You're 48, so you're right in my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go over your name. Your YouTube name because it's just your name.
It's just Jay Bartlett. Yeah, you know, when I did this, I started YouTube in 2020, and I was trying to think of a name, and just me. This is just me. Okay, I didn't want to be like the Nintendo guy or the Storm Shadow guy or the Luke Skywalker guy or whatever. So I'm just like, I just put my name, man. It's boring as hell, but what the hell?
But you know what? It's not one of those names where people can't figure out how to spell.
Thankfully, I didn't think of that, dude.
A lot of people start off with these channel names and you can't find them.
Yeah,
they don't have, their channels are just so indescriptive or so much like someone else's. You can't find them when they first start off because they don't have content. YouTube hasn't figured out the algorithm.
Yeah.
So if you don't have something unique, they have no idea. But yeah,
and it was tough around this time last year. And I want to shout out to look, the boys are here. Look at all the boys. Matt's here, Brandon's here, Boba Wave. Good to see you guys.
We can go through a few people here.
Guys, yeah.
Going back to the beginning, we got Brandon R here, who I see all the time. We got Patrick, who's newer to the channel. He's been checking it out. Matthew Madsen, my moderator.
Matthew, what's up? Big Bacon. Oh, trouble. There's trouble.
Mike Lap.
Yo.
Is he one of your guys? I feel like I've seen him before, but not too often here.
Everyone is my people. It's good to see you. Good to see you.
Nolan, Aaron, the toy enhancer.
What's up, Aaron? How you doing?
This guy, I made a comment on his video. He just started doing like reviews. I said, hey, you know what? Good job. Keep up the work. He said, and then he posts, he's like, dude, he's like, I followed you after you made a comment, and I've been following you since, man. Thanks a lot. Good, and I was like, hey, dude, support each other, man. That's all we got to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Matt Rubin.
There's Matt right there.
Boba Wave. Looks like it's the same people right here. We got Ryan Sweeney, who will be on at the in the middle of December. He'll be the last one of the year.
Ryan.
So Johnny Reno, who is donated to the Black Friday giveaway. So looking very very good. So let's see here. Jay says, Jay being modest, the history of Bartlett is big in Canada. One of them was lucky enough to marry me. Another was received the first distress call from the Titanic. True story.
I didn't know that. Brandon's talking about his lovely wife, Ginny, who's also a big supporter of my channel. And
Wait, so I gotta ask you, is Janine
Ginny
actually
Bartlett
related to you?
No, that was the joke.
Okay, because I remember when she first showed up.
Yeah,
and you made a comment about like
my long lost relative.
Yes,
yeah.
and then like as it went on, I was like,
Brandon and Jenny. It was last year, I believe. They started coming onto the channel, and we just hit it off, and we just kept talking, and then we met. We hung out a couple times in person, and they're like the greatest people, man. They're so down to earth and just awesome, good people. They live pretty close to me, so.
Oh, that's even cooler.
Yeah.
So, where exactly are you from?
I'm from a small town, London, Ontario, Canada. Not the good London, the bad London. It's about 400,000 people. Not small, but
it's not far from me.
Yeah, you're on the other side of the border there, buddy. Yeah, about
yes,
2 hours away, 2.5 hours away from you. That's where I am still. Although I've traveled everywhere, but I live in London currently. Yeah.
And so you really haven't moved too far away. You've just traveled around and.
I haven't moved. I've been to a lot of places, but I haven't really wanted to move. I'm not French Canadian. No, I have like grade 9, like French, but I don't remember any of it. So none of it.
So I'm assuming you were born in 75.
Yeah, man, July 1975. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were just older than me because.
Barely, yeah.
I'm December. I'm December. Nice. So I just made the 75 cutoff list, enough to get my parents that tax break for that year. So growing up, did you have any siblings or anything?
No brothers or sisters. I was still am an only child. So I think that that had a lot to do with my upbringing for sure. And just the way my parents raised me. London Knights. Yeah, you're right, dude. Absolutely. London Knights.
Ryan's from over here too. He's just
nice. Yeah.
He's further away from the border than me, but yeah.
We used to, dude, I assume you're a big music fan. I can sense that you like music, yeah.
I'm a punk snob.
That's fine. Dude, that's fine. I saw the second time I saw Foo Fighters was in 1996 in Pontiac, Michigan.
Okay.
And I remember
amphitheater.
We went there, and it was in a place called Clutch Cargo's. I don't know if it's still there. It's like an old church. It was like an old church or something like that.
So, funny story is, a client of mine is in there. So it's not Clutch Cargo's anymore. It's a shelter.
Yeah, we went there. It was 96, and that was back when they were performing to like 500 people. And I remember like meeting them the first time. They're just like outside, and there was nobody else but us. It was like the best day ever.
Yeah, that church is really, because it became a nightclub and finally it's a shelter now. But one of my clients, they own that church, and they're right across the street. That's where they have like the copy machine and everything. So I pass by it all the time.
That's sweet.
Right across the street.
Small world. That was 96 or 97. That was 97. That one, yeah.
97. Yes, that would have been. Yeah, that was the prime time of me going to concerts.
Crossing the border in my buddy's little Honda hatchback piece of crap with my two buddies that were younger than me, and one of them was sitting on the hump on the back seat, no seatbelt, just kicked off the border. They didn't care. We're going to see a concert. Okay, go ahead. Now try and do that. Good luck. Good luck now.
I was just yesterday, I was scrolling through YouTube, and my buddy a couple years ago, he sent me something, and it was from April of '89 when we went to Sarnia, Canada for the skate park. And my dad was there. It was shortly after my mom passed away. I knew by the board, and then I happened to see the date, and I just happened to be scrolling through it. And it populated for some reason. And I was watching him. I'm like, God, like we had no control over our boards. I'm like the only one in a t-shirt. Everyone else has like pads on, sweatshirts. I'm like the scrawniest, smallest kid there. I'm like, man, I was stupid back then.
You skated then?
Oh yeah.
We talked about this when you're on my channel. Obviously the vision sign that is inspired right by your sign there. Yeah, you didn't want to be the guy if you were street skating. I skated too. You didn't want to be the dude with pads unless there was a ramp. Then it's okay because Tony Hawk wore the pads, so it was all right. But if you were a street skater, man, it would crimp your style. You didn't want any pads.
So what was funny is that the guys that weren't really into skating that went with us, they had like the pads on.
Sure.
The other ones, and I didn't. My other friend Nick, he had the knee pads down to his shins because that's how Ron Allen wore them in the 8th Street videos.
Yeah,
which was such a stupid idea. But when I feel my shins, maybe it wasn't such a bad idea.
What was your first deck?
My first brand new board.
Yeah,
it was a Bill Danforth Mini with Gullwing Super Pro 3, Elva Hardcore, and German bearings. And Roman is here to say hi to you.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you.
Say hi. Buddy, we just let you out, like literally.
He wants to be in the show.
What's actually funny is that, so the first board that I got, we got it at Gibraltar Trade Center, where you actually go through on your Nintendo Quest.
Oh yeah, you were saying that that flea market, it's no longer there, right?
No, it's a big pot dispensary.
Oh geez,
giant. I mean, that place was huge. But yeah, they had the skateboards in there, and there's a shop there. And that I remember I got it. Bill Danforth was from Michigan, and it was a mini. And that was when you thought, oh, if you're small, you got to have a mini. And my parents had bought it so long before Christmas. When it came, I didn't want that board anymore. And I had actually saved. I actually got a new deck in February.
Right.
That was the day my mom passed away. And that was actually the board that I was skating.
Yeah.
It was actually the day that my mom passed away. That's why I remember it. And that's when I was actually riding in that. I mean, I had other boards before that, but they were, that was my first brand new board.
That's awesome. Mine was a Christian Hosoi, but it was for a vert. It was a vert Hosoi.
Big hammerhead.
Yeah, so I mean, I couldn't do a lot of tricks, but I didn't know, man. And then I got my favorite was Corey O'Brien. Remember the skeleton throwing the fireball? That was my favorite deck, dude. I loved that thing.
That actually the one kid that I went with, that was his first board.
Yeah,
my best friend growing up, Joe. That was his board. Man, I can get off on that for so long. We'll get to that though.
Sure.
So, all right. So we're the same age. What was the first toys you kind of remember playing with?
Star Wars.
Okay. I think most of us remember the Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember what else led into after Star Wars? Because Star Wars really kicked it off. But do you remember the next big toys that you got into?
I was lucky. My mom bought me a lot, and that had to do again with our home environment not being great. It's just kind of how she dealt with things. So I was lucky. I still have most of my childhood stuff, but I was really lucky that way in the fact that I have a nice representation of most lines. To answer your question, I would say probably Masters of the Universe is the next one that kind of comes to mind, because that was 82. That would have been probably about right. Like this Mego, like,
Yeah.
Mego, like Buck Rogers, Mego, motion, Star Trek motion picture, stuff like that. But actual toy lines that I was like obsessed with, I would say would be Masters.
I feel like there was always like we always had toys and we just kind of mix and match. But then there became the lines that we were like, oh my god, I gotta have all of these or as many of these as possible. Um, Now, growing up in Canada, I've talked to a few other people, and I'm amazed when I talk to other people in other countries. And I've talked to a couple of people in Australia, and to hear how their distribution is. And actually,
Right.
I'll be talking to Fuller Figures this Saturday for the Thursday for the Thanksgiving show that I'm doing because no one wants to be here on Thanksgiving, and he's from Ireland. So, is the distribution, or at least back then, was it different than it was in the US? Or did you pretty much get everything that we got? I know there were some variations of colors and stuff.
I really remember just video games being completely different. And I mean completely different. Toys, I couldn't answer to that. I don't like, I would say out of every toy line, and I don't want to jump ahead, but the greatest toy line ever is Real American Hero. Just
Yeah.
that's everything to me, right?
No argument here.
But GI Joe was the first toy line I remember looking at the back of the packages and wanting all the characters, right? And I don't remember, I don't want to say doing without, but I don't remember not seeing any of the characters. So I don't know. And I know each line was out for about 2 years, right, before they discontinued
Yeah.
them. So I don't think so. Video games, 100%.
You don't remember doing that with Star Wars figures, looking at the back and see because they're all numbered. You get a little check mark on them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I did that.
Yeah.
And I'm not discounting Star Wars. Star Wars
Yeah.
to me is such an emotional experience. It's almost like it's weird, man. It's almost like I can't talk about it because it means so much to me. Is that weird? Like,
No, because so this is I was talking to Usual Mike from Australia.
sure.
And he had never seen the Star Wars movies, like until he was older.
Yeah.
But he had the figures. And one of the things that I kind of brought up was like, I had a hard time playing Star Wars because when I played Star Wars, you had to play exactly what you saw in the movies. At least for me.
No,
And
that's a good point. Yeah.
And he said, I said, like, you didn't have that. He's like, no, we did whatever we wanted. And I'm like, because G.I. Joe, I did whatever I wanted. He-Man, you did whatever you wanted. But Star Wars was like, this is what happens in the movie. I have to follow that script.
So and again, I how do I say this? It's like my favorite film of all time is Return of the Jedi. Okay. And back in the days where cable was still on, sometimes if you got lucky, you would find a Star Wars movie on in the afternoon or something. I can't have Star Wars on in the background because it's so emotional that I'm there with it. So it's like when I want to watch the first 6, I have to emotionally be ready for it. So to go back to what your friend's saying, Star Wars to me was so perfect that I didn't want to mess with George's story. So we would always play Star Wars. We would always do 7, 8, 9. No word of a lie. We would make what happened after Return of the Jedi.
Oh, okay.
But even to like, we wouldn't even play Empire or anything like that just because the movie was so good. Even back then, I knew that I didn't want to like do it a disservice. So Star Wars figures for me were more of a collector's thing. I enjoyed having that physical representation of my hero, who was Luke Skywalker. And he was like, I could show everybody that. But Joe was really where I started adventures. Matthew says over 700 characters in Real American Hero. Exactly. And what's so great about G.I. Joe, and I talk about this on my channel all the time, is that apart from the main 5, Cobra Commander, Snake Eyes, blah, 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 everybody has their favorite and they have a reason for it. That's why it's so great.
See, I think for me, when it comes to like the Star Wars and how you said you played 7, 8, 9, which I guarantee you whatever you're playing was better than what they gave us. I know we disagree on that because
Dude,
But,
you were on that show, man. We can't open this can of worms.
I know, and we're not going to, because we could do that here if we want one day.
I
I'm
would
sure
love it.
everything will be the exact same. But for me, I think by that time I had already found GI Joe. It sounds so weird. I literally say like I found GI Joe. I can
Yeah.
remember exactly where I was the first time I saw the commercial for it, and what I was playing with, and everything, and what I said to my dad. Like it's like it was yesterday. You know,
It's amazing.
and once I found GI Joe and started playing GI Joe, everything was different. I mean, I collected Transformers, Motu, but I didn't really play with those. I didn't get as many of those as
Yeah.
GI Joe, but I went to other people's houses and who were into Motu, and we were playing Master of the Universe, He-Man. I never called them Motu or what.
No, it's He-Man. It was
It's
He-Man.
always He-Man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. There's something about being in your 40s and calling it He-Man that's maybe that's why we call it Masters of the Universe now. I don't know if that name's any better or not.
you know, I hate calling it He-Man when it's like it wasn't He-Man, it was Masters of the Universe. Like it just seems wrong to call it that, because you're calling it by the wrong name, even though everyone knows what you're talking about.
And what's weird, dude, is I get in so much crap when I say this, so I'll say it on your channel too. I think He-Man is the worst character in Masters of the Universe. He's so boring. Everyone else around him is so great, but He-Man is like, okay, here's Superman. He can't be beaten. It's just boring, right?
I wouldn't say he's the worst, but I understand what you're saying. But I don't like Duke. I think Duke is awful.
You don't
I
like
wish they would have killed off Duke. I was mad that Duke didn't die.
Wow. And you got to give it to them for taking out Prime the way they did. I mean, that's a lot of guts, but clearly there was a backlash from that, right? So
no, I'm mad at them for releasing that movie first, because that means they didn't kill Duke like they should have.
Yeah,
you can't bring Duke back.
But I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Larry himself has said that that's not in continuity. So I look at the G.I. Joe 87 movie, I love it, and I look at it as like a what if. What if this happened, right? It's like a what if episode. So if you look at it like that, then it's fine.
No, I'm personally believes, hey, the canon is what the cartoon. I'm sorry, what the comic was, what my head canon was, and what the file cards were. The cartoon was fun and I enjoyed it, but it was so bad.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's that bad. I think there's far worse. Like, as much as I love Mask is one of my favorite toy lines. That cartoon's pretty awful now. But dude, we can't judge this. We're grown adults now. These were made for kids, right? These are children's toys.
Yes,
Children,
they are.
Plain and simple.
Rachel here. I know we know. And now we know why Punk loves Channing Tatum. Listen, people may disagree with me, but the 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street are hilarious.
I've never seen it. I don't know.
Oh my god, they are so funny. There are such great cameos in it. That is one you can just sit back, watch. You know it's stupid, but it brings a laugh to me every time. I'll stop and watch it anytime that it's on.
Yeah. I agree with Matt's comment there. I think it has the best soundtrack. Like, no, not soundtrack. This is the best opening song of any cartoon. Mask is amazing. I still enjoy it. I'm just saying it's a little rough to watch now, but
a lot of those are. Matter of fact, so I've said this about Rad. So the movie Rad. Listen, it breaks my heart as a skateboarder to say the greatest extreme sports movie is a BMX movie.
Right.
G.I. Joe to me is way better than any toy line. But if you said, hey, you can only watch Transformers cartoon or the G.I. Joe cartoon the rest of your life, I would watch Transformers any day.
So would I.
Says it was better.
It's funny you said that. So would I. I found it more. It wasn't as silly. I'm talking about like the cold slither stuff, all that. I mean, it's campy and fun. But Transformers, there's something about Megatron and his constant fight with Optimus Prime that was so sinister. And you could thank Frank Welker for the amazing performance that he did, but Transformers is just darker to me. It's always been darker.
And there was always that you never felt a power struggle between Cobra Commander and Destro, but between Starscream and Megatron, you always felt it. And you even felt it in Soundwave, or not Soundwave, Shockwave, who really wanted to take over, even though he wasn't there. Like, that was always there.
Right.
But I don't know how we got here. But listen, that's how things go.
That's great. I love it. It's like you know, I used to watch the Joe Rogan podcast years ago, because they would just hit record and they would already be mid-sentence about something.
Yeah.
Just go wherever. Those are my favorite kind.
So so you're into toys, like most of us. So you have G.I. Joe was obviously your biggest one. You said Star Wars. You obviously collected Motu. Now, you had a lot of stuff, correct? It sounds like you were fairly spoiled.
Yes, that's fair to say. Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because obviously you've seen me make the jokes about, oh, you didn't have the flag? I still have my flag.
And I never got mine until 2020, when everyone thought we didn't know if we're going to be around too much longer, right? So, I mean, no, and I'm not getting into that can of worms. I just thought, I'm going to go out and get this. I've always wanted it. Now is the time. And I found one at my local toy store, and I got a great deal on it. So
listen, if it's something you want and you can buy it, I don't care what it is. If you can buy it, you can still put a roof over your head, feed your kids if you have kids.
Yep.
You go to work. Who cares? If you're not hurting anyone, then go for it. You know, it's enjoyment.
I agree. It's what we do, right? That's just part of us.
And it's nice going back into your childhood and being like, I don't care that I'm almost 50. I'm going to pose these figures. I'm going to take pictures of them. It's exactly what I used to do, other than take pictures. I would spend hours upon hours upon hours building bases of G.I. Joe to destroy them in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was the fun of I used to love to take white string and put them across like they were laser barriers.
Oh, that's cool.
So planes could fly into them. Now, Chad would have just chucked the most expensive, toy at it. Like his Death Star.
yeah, probably. But hey.
Like, I would spend all this time using my imagination. I used to love doing that. I'm sure my parents probably kept looking at all the twine or string that I was going through.
You know what? I'm sure they loved it. I mean, I don't ever want to grow up and have old guy syndrome, which is the old guy that yells at the clouds and says, my generation was the best. You didn't grow up in the 80s. Ours was the best. And I'm like, you know what? So I never left myself behind. Like, my father stopped evolving, I think, in the 60s, right? I never wanted to do that. I always wanted to keep up with music and movies and everything, entertainment. And now in 2023, I look and I'm like, the 80s was literally the greatest time for toys. Like, statistically speaking, there was so many incredible IPs. It's staggering.
I also think our generation is the first generation that grew up at the beginning of real technology. So as technology takes these big leaps and bounds, we're still involved in it. Where my dad, God bless him, he should not be allowed to have a computer or a smartphone. All right, like, I'm glad he does, because it helps. And conversely, my ex, they finally got her dad a smartphone, and he doesn't even bring it anywhere, and it drives everyone nuts, because he's picking up the kids and people are trying to call him like, hey, this one didn't go to school, and he's like, I didn't bring it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was that our parents' generation, right? I remember, before my mom passed too, she got some wasn't an iPhone, but it was some touchscreen phone she got with her phone plan or whatever. And she just, doing one of these things, looking at it, and she's like, what do you do? Where's the buttons? I'm like, oh God, this is gonna take a long time to explain. But I think it's a lot of their generation. They just didn't evolve, right? It was like I remember my mom looking at video games like they were for kids. They were that kids stuff, Star Wars, all that stuff. That's all kids stuff. And our generation, I don't know, we've appreciated it more, or we haven't learned to let it go. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Well, like you said, I think because we watched the beginning of it, so we're still involved in it. And if you look at, like I said, go look at how old. My daughter and I were watching Elf.
Right.
Elf, guys. Elf.
ALF.
ALF. All right. Yeah. Not Elf. Elf.
Yeah.
And I had to look up how old Willie was, the dad. And I'm like, hey, do I look older than him? And my daughter's like, no. I'm like, he's like 37 years old. There.
Was he really?
Yeah, my God. Like, I couldn't believe it. Look at all those guys. I'm like, why do they seem so old? And here I am, almost 48, and I'm like, I don't look like that. My ex doesn't look like that. But then I see some people that I know from school, and I'm like, God damn.
It's hard to say why that is. I mean, dude, look how I dress. I dress like it's the year 2001 still. Do you know what I mean? I think, you have the way you dress.
You wear a shirt over a long sleeve t-shirt?
Like, look at this. Who wears this? Some guy in 2001 would wear this. You look like a skater dude still. Like, I think our generation is not like go to that. I always remember, like, when I'm an old man, it's like, when do you get to the point where you wear like, the leisure suits and all that stuff? And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm almost 50 and I still wear the same clothes as when I was 20. Good or bad? I don't know. That's who I am, though. I think a lot of people our generation are like that.
Yeah, so there's a lot like what you just said there. When I started skating again after my ex and I split up, so 40, 41 maybe. And I met these kids, and they were kids then. Now they're in their mid to late 20s, and I become good friends with them. And I would talk about like how my boss looks at me, and he doesn't like me skateboarding because he doesn't understand, like, for me to ride around, I'm not doing big giant rails or big ramps. I'm skating small ramps, small rails. But skateboarding, to me, it's second nature. It's like, I don't understand how everyone can't jump on a skateboard and roll, but that's because they don't do it. And he's like, I don't know why. A lot of these kids are like, I don't know why you say that. I'm like, let me explain something to you. Tony Hawk's only like 7 years older than me. He was one of the old guys. When you look at 7 years, that's not that old. So the old guys were only like 21, 22, 23. Now you're going to have people like myself who isn't a pro, who just does it for fun at 50. So when you're 50 doing it, 45, 40, no one's going to blink an eye. But for us, that generation is still looking at you going, ooh, you shouldn't be doing that, should you? And it's like, man, I'm going to live one time. Yeah. I might as well enjoy myself.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. If you can still take the falls and stuff like that, that's the biggest part, right? Is taking those falls. Because you don't get up like you used to.
Oh no, they take longer to
more
longer.
The more stairs you go off, it's like, damn, that hurt, man. It's only 2 stairs.
I rode off something a couple years ago. It was literally just rode off, and I hit the ground. And I went, that hurt.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
So as a kid, we get out of toys normally, or at least we start to hide them. Did you ever have that phase where you had moved on to something else? You're no longer a child, you're going into probably high school.
Oh, well, okay, it's a little embarrassing. My buddy and I'll spare him and not say his name, but it's Darren. Me and him, we were the outcasts, right? And it's not woe is us. It's just what we chose to be, right? So Darren was like the head of the football team. I was like the skater dude, right? Basically we would we played with toys. So I think we were like 15. I think it's about
Wow.
15, man. It was pretty rough. And I remember one day Darren met a girl and she came over. And I remember we didn't want her to see the toys, and she brought her friend who became my first girlfriend, right? And once we discovered girls, I remember this was around the same time as the Toy Biz superheroes started coming out, X-Men,
Okay.
all this, like Cable, the original Deadpool, all these great characters that we wish we had. I remember getting Cable. We opened it, and we're just like, it felt weird. It felt really weird. And we knew then that it was over. Not video games, because that was fine. Comic books, that's fine. Toys, it was done. But I remember I still wanted them.
Yes.
So months later, I would go into the Walmarts and I would kind of walk by the toy aisle, just kind of look. I don't want to go down there because it was weird, right? I felt weird. And I would say that I have one person that I can thank, and I want to give eternal gratitude to Todd McFarlane for him bringing out his Movie Maniacs line, which was 98, 2000,
Okay.
because he kind of said to all of us, our gen, hey, it's okay to like toys. There's a Leatherface figure, man. There's a Jason figure. I remember picking it up, and I was like, all right, it was kind of okay to collect toys again. So there was probably about a good 6 years I didn't buy anything.
Even as I got older and I wasn't collecting a lot because I didn't have a lot of money, I'd always go to the toy section first. My kids know, like, we go into anywhere we go, like, we go to toy section first. Doesn't matter if you're buying anything.
Sure.
But I think during that time when I wasn't buying stuff, just finding stuff, seeing stuff on the pegs, like the different 3-packs of Joes that may be there, or when they re-released the Motu figures and they were in that big casing. Finding that stuff was always fun for me. I remember seeing Extreme G.I. Joe and hating it and thinking this is awful, like Sergeant Savage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had no interest in that. And the O-ring stuff, I had no interest in the 2000s. It wasn't until the 25ths came out. Then I was like, okay, this is a lot different because we just got a lot of weird repaints and stuff like that with the 2000s O-ring stuff, right? But the 25ths came out and I was like, oh damn, these are something special because they were completely different.
Yeah,
they rebuilt each figure from the ground up.
But so going through high school in your teen years, did you switch to comic books or were you already collecting comics?
It was a natural progression, right? Okay. I'm sure we all have the same story where it was you're out of toys, but you want to continue that imagination, right? So naturally, it's comic books and video games, which was still in its infancy. It really was, and I'm talking about home consoles, getting heavily into video games and getting lost in them, getting lost in comic books. It's so funny, I say I don't want to become that old guy. I remember when the Avengers Endgame came out, the first part, the second part, whatever, everyone's like, oh my God, this is so brilliant. I'm like, this is a story from 1991. This is the Infinity Gauntlet. I remember reading this when I was 16. And I'm not dunking on anybody for just discovering that. I'm just saying, like, everyone's praising it. It's like, this was a book from the early 90s, man. But yeah.
Amazing. Someone took a comic book and said, why don't we just adapt this into a movie? And it turned out great, yet everyone keeps trying to do G.I. Joe, and it's like, oh, those comic books, they don't exist. And you're like, no, they're right there. They literally gave you an outline.
I can't answer that. I don't understand why they can't get G.I. Joe right.
Again, there's so many good stories. And yeah, they don't have to be Vietnam era anymore. We get it.
They could change whatever war is from. They like what?
There's always conflict somewhere.
The obsession people have with Snake Eyes is, I get it, man. But it's like, you don't have to have his origin story.
No.
You don't even have to have anyone's origin story. Let's just pick it up. Do you think that little kids are going to go see G.I. Joe? The only reason they're going to see G.I. Joe, I believe, is because their parents are going to drag them.
Take them.
The G.I. Joe is not for the next generation. It's not. It's for us, and it will stay with us and die with us.
So what's funny about that is I did a stream where I talked about what I think G.I. Joe needs to do. And I said they need to obviously have media. And I said, but the other thing that I think would be awesome, and I know a lot of people hate this, but my daughter and I used to watch it like crazy, is Teen Titans Go.
Sure.
And you have a G.I. Joe, a Yo Joe, and they're all these little. You have Duke with the big head, and you got Snake Eyes and Scarlet.
Right.
You have Cobra. If you ever watch Teen Titans Go, it's hilarious, it's funny,
Right.
but it leads kids into, well, who the hell is this Nightwing guy or Robin, right? And next thing you know, they're reading Batman as they get older. Same concept. And you can do that for everything. They do it for Transformers. No, no one thinks twice about it.
Yeah, I would say there's a difference between giant robots fighting than military toy line. If you look at the 80s, dude,
yeah,
the amount of R-rated movies that were made into children's toy lines is shocking.
We also had a lot of our parents coming out of either serving in the Vietnam War, or like my dad would never say he served in the Vietnam War because he was on a ship. He's like, I didn't serve, I was just on a ship during Vietnam. But you had so many of our parents that served in Vietnam, and they were proud of it. They were proud of serving their country, not so much the war. They were proud of it, which people, as kids, you were proud to, look at a real American hero.
Right.
You saw this G.I. Joe line, but then it became like, again, when you start looking at it as things went on, it's kind of like they're not fighting against Crimson Guards. They're not fighting against Vipers, like.
Yeah. And the cartoon did a really good job of taking away the brutality of war. I mean, right off the bat, they're shooting lasers. There's no real war. It's just, Cobra trying to take over the world. And Cobra Commander is portrayed as an idiot. So there's no real threat. You know what I mean?
But like I said, I think the comic thing and then the video game thing, and I think we all played video games. I remember begging for Nintendo. And I didn't have any video game systems. I remember telling my mom, I'm like, it has the best graphics ever. And she goes, but eventually there'll be something with better graphics. I'm like,
yep.
There'll never be anything with better graphics.
Don't you say that, Mom.
Boy, was I wrong.
That's always the thing. Always trying to convince your parents. I remember when the Genesis came out, trying to convince my mom, oh, it's 16-bit. That's double the bits. I don't know what the hell a bit is. It's double the bits, right? What does that mean? Oh, it means that your guy's no longer this big. He's this big. And she's like, I don't care. It's like, it's like when Ralphie's trying to convince his parents to get the BB gun. That's what I felt like, right?
That's so true. I like equating that. But you're right about like when it's 16-bit. We didn't know what it was, but we just knew 16 is more than 8. So it's got to be better.
Double, man. It was double, yeah.
But of course everyone's like, well, Nintendo's got to come out with one, and then the Super Nintendo came out, which just crushed everything because it was such a good system, even to this day. I'm so mad that I don't have it anymore. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, it's right there.
And I know you have the Nintendo system.
I do. I'm a collector. It's what I do. So all my video games are from when I was a kid. All my toys, most of them, the vintage ones are from when I was a kid. I never wanted to get rid of anything, right? And people in my circle to put video games on a bookshelf. I'm not the originator. I'm just saying in my circle, I was one of the first. I mean, everyone's like, dude, you're supposed to put books on there. I was like, no way, man. Look at this. It's like, why do you have that old Super Mario Brothers game? Trade it in and get the new Genesis or whatever. I'm like, no, because someday I'm going to want to play this again. And I remember getting made fun of. Everyone's like, once the newest graphics are out, you're not going to care about the old stuff. I'm like,
and now everything's gone back.
Yeah.
If you want to play it.
Well, it's just like old movies, because they're black and white doesn't mean they're bad movies. It just means it was a different time, right?
That is a great analogy there.
Yeah.
That is a great analogy there. Because just because movies, an older movie, it doesn't have the same special effects. It doesn't mean it doesn't.
And sometimes that's good. God, no more.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm with you. But you know what? Like, it's like a great actor. It's like looking at a great basketball player, great hockey player.
Sure.
I don't care when they played, they would have been great.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah.
And a
Yeah.
great actor back in the 50s would have been a great actor now, just in color.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Yeah, I would agree with you. So it was always, I just never wanted to get rid of that stuff. You know, hey, Pains, what's up, buddy?
I believe you're going to be on Pains in a couple weeks, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah,
He's,
20, I can't remember. I think 26 around there.
yeah, he's really good. You know, he'll be in the fetal position, crying about your childhood, and
Dude, I could take it. Bring it on. Bring it on. I'm good.
So going through high school, you're into comics, you're
Yeah.
into video games. When do you really get into music? Because I believe you are pretty big into music right now.
Yeah, I started playing drums when I was 13. That was my first instrument. I picked up a guitar in the 90s. Didn't really get into guitar until maybe a few years ago, but I've always played music.
So you were a drummer, not a guitarist?
I was a drummer at first, yeah.
Okay.
Drummer for a long, long time. And I wanted to do more, right? I just didn't want to keep the beat. I wanted to have the sounds come out of me kind of thing. So started learning a bit in the 90s, and learning guitars, it's hard. It's not easy, right?
Oh,
So it just kind of, drinking beers and playing 64, and I'll be the drummer. That's fine. But then, yeah, like 2021, I picked up a guitar and I just became obsessed with it. So that's what I do.
late.
Mostly now.
Wow, I would assume that you were doing it earlier, because all the pictures I see, I don't know if I've ever seen you with drums. I've always seen you with a guitar.
Yeah, my profile picture is me with my baby, with my Trini Lopez. But no, man, I enjoy all music. I've always loved it. We always had in my parents' house, we always had the pop station on. So I fell in love very early with Michael Jackson. Was my guy. I loved him. I used to like learn all the dance moves, and my parents would have people, right? They'd come over and I would have to do like a little dance show. It's quite embarrassing now, but I had like this little Thriller jacket and all that stuff. Into pop music, loved it. And then I remember getting into grade 7, and my buddy, it's this big like metal dude. I just met him. He's kind of terrifying. He had this big duffel bag. He's like, "Hey Bartlett," he's like, "Stick your hand in here." I'm like, "Okay." So I do. Pull out a cassette with these
I'm like, I'm not sticking my hand in anything.
I was kind of scared, right? I was kind of scared. But I'm like, oh, Paul says to do it, so I do it. And I pulled out a cassette with 4 dudes with complete white faces, with one had a star, one had silver, one looked like a cat. I was like, what the hell is this? Let's listen to it, man. So I took home like Kiss, Motley Crue, Poison, and I was like, that's what I want to be. I want to be that. And so that's where, and I like metal and punk music. I love, man, metal, country. I like all of it. Just love music.
What music did you gravitate to? Because listen, I know there's people that say they like everything, but you gravitate to a certain style of music. At least I feel like people, like, what calls to you?
Like one style of music?
Yeah, like when you think like what was the first music style that really like called to you, that you're like,
oh, dude,
that's me. Like that is me right there.
I love telling this story. Okay, it's a short one, but I was in my parents' house in the basement, and we had Much Music, which was the Canadian version of MTV. Is like the same kind of played music videos. And this video came on with this, what I thought was a beautiful woman with the most interesting screech coming out of her. The song was called Sweet Child of Mine, and it in fact wasn't a woman, it was Axl Rose. But I remember just being like, what is that? How can anybody sound like that? And I would, Appetite for Destruction was my record. Like Guns N' Roses was what I aspired to be, in whatever form that was. And getting that album, and hearing them say F off and it's so easy. I remember I always turn that up. Right. And then I discovered, skate punk, like Dead Kennedys, and getting into Misfits and stuff like that. And it just kept going. So I had those friends, but at the same time, I like George Michael, Faith. What a brilliant record, right? I love Def Leppard, Hysteria. So I loved it all. And then I had the skater punks, the metalheads. The metalheads were like, well, if you like Master of Puppets, you can't like Aerosmith. And I also loved Roy Orbison too.
Isn't that weird?
So it was so weird to me. It was like, why? They didn't have an answer, right?
It's so weird. Like,
so dumb.
If you like punk, like you could not like metal.
So dumb.
And then you find out, like, as you get older, all these punk bands, like Strung Out and stuff, they're big, huge metalheads. When Strung Out opened up for Pennywise here in Detroit, so I went to go see Strung Out and Pennywise, right? Strung Out finished their set at St. Andrews Hall, and Megadeth was playing at Coble Hall, which is in walking distance.
Right. Yep.
They left to go check out Megadeth, and they knew one of the roadies, so they were backstage. So I'm on Instagram the next day or Facebook, and here they are, like, after the show, after the show while Pennywise was playing, we took off down the street and we watched Megadeth play. And I'm like, wow. And I don't like Megadeth at all, but to me that is awesome, because it's like, hey, there's another band that we want to see. We're musicians. We probably played on the stage at a festival with them at some time, but they're like, hey, we're going to shoot on down there. I love stories like that, like doing little trips like that where you're like, I'm in this town. Hell, this band is playing. Let's shoot on over there and just check them out. I'm never going to be here again.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, music is such a personal thing. It's such a personal experience that we all have. That I just saw Matt says he likes, Aerosmith and Metallica are two of his favorites. Now, for someone to say to Matt, Aerosmith sucks, like, it's such a ridiculous statement to say this kind of music sucks. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like out in high school. It was like, if you didn't like Kiss, man, you didn't know anything about music. I was a dumb kid, right? But it's like, it's so personal. I assume you like NoFX, Lawrence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if I was to say, Fat Mike can't write a song, he's a terrible bass player, that is not true at all, and it makes no sense, because I'm sure there was times that you listened to NoFX and Punk and Drublick hit you in a way that Appetite might not have, and I can never take that away from you. Nobody can ever take that away from you. So to say you're wrong for liking this band is so ridiculous to me. It's laughable.
Okay, so here's what's funny.
Yeah.
This is funny. You've probably realized I'm kind of boisterous. I speak my mind. Sometimes I just piss people off.
Well, you have punk in your name, so I figured that.
You may have a guy on Friday that does the exact same thing. But I'll be like, dude, soccer sucks. Soccer's stupid. I'll say, like, country sucks. Then you know what people say to me? Dude, what if I told you skateboarding sucks? What if I told you punk sucks? Yeah. I go, well, I don't care. Like, just because I tell you I think something sucks, I want you to look at me and go, fuck you. I enjoy it. Awesome. You stuck up for yourself. Enjoy it. I think it's stupid. But hey, you can think skateboarding stupid and punk stupid. It doesn't change how I feel about it. But I understand what you're saying. When you're very boisterous, sometimes you're like, all right.
Yeah, I mean,
little put off.
If you and I are talking and we're talking about, like, NoFX versus whoever, Metallica, whatever band you want to say, like, we can have an argument as friends, and debate, and that's fine. But I find, especially online, if you don't share somebody's opinion exactly, it's not that you argue, it's like they don't want anything to do with you. So from the beginning of Facebook, which was like 2007 when I signed up, I made it a point of never to post anything like that, never to respond to anything like that. And I just don't, because it's like, it's an argument you're never going to win.
It's like, it's hard. I heard, do you know who Dan Who is?
I don't believe so. No.
He's a European YouTuber, and he had another YouTuber on. I can't remember his name. And when he was on it, he was like, and they were talking about all the toy drama. and this goes with everything. This goes with toy drama, music drama, whatever, right? And he goes, all this toy drama. Roman, what are you doing? With all this toy drama, but he was like, it's kind of weird. You have all this toy drama, but if you were working somewhere and you walk by and you see someone has like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like in their cubicle, you may not collect turtles, but they're a toy collector, and you're gonna have like an instant bond. You're gonna go over, you're gonna talk to them. But you're online and someone says, "Oh, I like this," and you don't like it, and you're like, "Fuck you! You're wrong. This shit's awful." But if that person was in your workspace, you'd have like this instant connection because you both do it. Like if I was a musician, I may play punk. You play country. You see that like I have a guitar there. Next thing you know, we're talking about music. But you get online, and all of a sudden it's like we got to fight about this. We got to we've got to be at odds with it because we're not face to face. We really should have a connection.
I never understood, pissing on people's parade. In the toy community or the video game space, I'm happy to see people happy. If I don't get it, it doesn't matter. Like if I don't collect, I don't know, say I don't collect Origins, which I don't anymore, but someone just got King Randor that's really rare. I think it's all about a mindset, Lawrence. It's like I'm not in the mindset where I look at that and like, I don't like King Randor. I need to tell this guy that figure's stupid. I'm more of the mindset like, hey, dude, that's a really rare figure. Nice work in finding that. I don't get it, right?
I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm more like that. Although I can be I can be very boisterous, but I've learned to enjoy people having enjoyment in what they're getting.
Yeah.
Now, I may not always agree with everything, and anyone will tell you that when I get off on Super 7, but I get off on Super 7 because I think that they're ripping people off with how they lie about things, and that to me that's a problem. But I try and like if someone's enjoying it, it's like awesome, enjoy it. Sometimes you just want to be like, hey, just understand this, and I know sometimes that leads to the bickering, the battling over, and it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, this is the toy community mostly, but it's not always toys. It could be. I can only imagine how people go at it about guitars.
Yeah. I had a few come at me and say, "Oh, is that a real Gibson Trini Lopez? Oh, what's the serial number?" It's just like I don't even respond. It's like F you, buddy.
What's the serial number on it?
Like I gotta prove to you that it's a Gibson. Like
someone I've never met online here, and you just need to know.
And dude, I'll take that further and say I don't know where people have time to care about. And don't take this the wrong way about what other people are doing. Like why you're worried about this guy posting the King Randor figure. It's like you have time to worry about that. You do. Like
you have to learn to walk away from. I'm on the G.I. Joe forum. The only thing that bothers me more than anything is when people ask dumb questions that you can Google yourself. Take a second instead of wasting everyone's time. You wasted the time to post this and ask a question that a simple Google would have covered. Do a little bit of research on your own instead of going on here and asking everyone else. And again, it goes back to toys, but I'm sure it's like that with everything. Where the other day someone had posted a picture of, I want to say it was the Valaverse and G.I. Joe, and they were asking about the drop down hips, and they were asking what it actually does. And I'm like, that makes sense because, okay, you're collecting toys. If you try and Google drop down hips, good luck. He was asking, like, what is the purpose of this? I don't understand it.
Right.
Like, okay, that's someone that is trying to figure something out. They're asking an actual question that it's not going to be that easy to find out. Sure. Where people ask, I know they say no, there's no dumb question, but I disagree with that.
Well, Chad and I always talk about gatekeepers. My buddy Rob and I talk about it all the time too on our separate podcast that we used to do. I can't stand gatekeepers, the elite collector who have to correct you, and not not in a fun way, like the, Chad and I always go actually and bump up our glasses because it's like that's the kind of person that, dude, you're just taking it too far. It's just like I don't profess to know everything about toys or video games. I just like what I like. Pains
This one right here.
the fight because I said the 86 Viper has a giant head. I offended a lot of people with that comment.
Yeah, I know. I brought him up here when we did the stream. So
there you go. That was months ago. I stick by it. He has a giant head. It's for his body. It's like Lord Helmet from Spaceballs, man. That's how big it is.
So what? So as you're growing up, I know. See, we're all over the place. I always try and get back on track. I think sometimes, but as you're growing up and you're getting, you're graduating high school. What did you do after you graduated? Did you go to college? Did you just get out into the working world?
I mean, I wasn't a high school graduate. I hated school. I hated public school. I hated high school. I liked college because there was a bar on campus. Dude, all my heroes were like rock dudes, right? And that was like the life. And I was a drinker, and not like a bad drinker, but that was my thing, right? I liked my buddies and I liked to get hammered. Never was into drugs or any of that stuff. So I not crazy like Scott Weiland and stuff like that, but like just like I loved bands who liked to party and drink, and so it was just like for me, that's what we did. We did that a lot. I hated school. I hated learning about stuff that didn't interest me. You hear about it all the time, the kid looking out the window. And it was just like, I just dreamt of bigger and better things. If you were to tell me, 7th grade, 8th grade me that someday you'll be able to play video games and potentially make a living out of it, I would be like, what? Amazing, right?
No way. I mean, I wish I would never change anything because I have my kids. I mean, everything in my life has led to the point where I have my kids, my family. But I wish growing up, there's no internet. You think that the only way to be in skateboarding is to be a professional skateboarder. And I live in Michigan. I wasn't as good as I wasn't as good as a pro. But now when you look at it, it's like there's photography, there's working in the industry, there's team managers, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do in skateboarding that isn't being a professional skateboarder. And I wish I would have known that, because I definitely would have shot for something like that to get into the industry. And you can't do that in Michigan, really. But I didn't know that. You think that the only thing you can do is be a professional skateboarder. As you get older, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Someone has to run everything behind the scenes.
Yeah, these guys aren't just holding their own camcorder when they're doing these tricks, right? It's
like so it's the same thing with like the toys and everyone that's creating content. And we may not be making a lot of money. Some people are, but it also is how you look at it. As you have to look at it as, like I said, it's not a job, but it's work. Now you do it. What, 5 days a week?
Sorry, go ahead.
You do it 5 days a week right now?
4. Okay. Working up to full time, but we're not quite there yet. I'm doing 4 now. Yeah, 4 days. Start streaming at 10 a.m. and it goes how long it goes. And then Friday I have verses with Chad. And then I'm working on a couple more night shows. So I try and do as much streaming as I can. But then when the camera's off, then there's, making the videos, as editing the videos. So it doesn't stop just because there's no live streaming. But it's work, but it's fun. It's fun work.
And then something we talked about shortly before, like with super chats, with memberships. It's like we do this to create content for people, but no one see like I said to you, like people I think I just sit down at 9 o'clock on Monday and that's where we start. And it's like you don't see the hours that people sit in here. Even the little bit of editing that I do for my reviews, it all takes its time
Yeah.
And if you're doing it as much as like you are, or Mega J, or a lot of these other guys, it's like they're spending a lot of time just creating it, getting a hold of people and working out like, hey, can you come on this day? Can you come out here? Uh, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I didn't realize how much work it was, but like I said, I started my channel in 2020 and it was just toys. I looked up to so many people. I watch back then I was watching Brian, Hooded Corporate Commander. I was watching Michael Mercy. I was watching Michael French, all the really big channels. I'm just like, wow, look what these guys are doing. I just remember both of the Michaels, just the amount of time and effort they put into each video. I was like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And so Big Bacon says, I don't make anything right now. I'm doing it for fun. We were there, dude.
Yeah,
for sure. And you have to have that mindset. You have to be having fun at the beginning. If you're getting into this thinking, I'm going to be making a ton of money, that's
the wrong attitude.
it's the wrong attitude. You have to
And
enjoy
you know
the journey.
And you're doing the wrong thing because,
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone off in the past, a couple of weeks ago, I went off because politics started getting brought up. All right. I do not talk about politics. If I take a shot at Biden or Trump, I'm taking a shot at them. I'm not talking politics. And I went off.
Yeah.
If I wanted to make more money doing YouTube, I would do a political show because I guarantee you, whether you pick one side or the other, you're going to have people. I'd have more streamers than what I have now. I'd have more subscribers because they flock like sheep. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all about the journey. Like Big Bacon, he's creating this content. He's not making any money, but at the same time, as you're creating videos, hopefully you're watching other YouTubers, other guys that talk about how to make better videos and present a better experience for the people watching, and you're learning as you go along.
Yeah,
So
every video you make, every live stream that you do, you should try and improve it from the last, right? And if you do that, then you're getting further ahead, right? For sure. But
and there are days that you just like last Monday, I did not feel it. The Monday before that, I was just like on a high. I was just railing through everything. I felt like I could still be going. This Monday, and I don't know if it showed or not, I just didn't feel it, And sometimes it has to do with what I'm talking about. And then I get to the end, and then I'm usually by that time 3 hours in, I'm good. More people are showing up, which is crazy. But
yeah. There's times when I don't feel like it too. But you just pop in like inspirational video on YouTube and you can hear like Arnold talking about where he came from. And then you're like, oh man, like you're ready to take on the world. Right. But I came from corporate background. I managed a GameStop for 20 years and to the point where it almost broke me. So every time I sit there and feel like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this today, I think back to those days when I was standing behind that counter and it felt like a prison. I'm not even kidding.
No, I get it.
I'm like, yeah, I can do this now. And it's everyone's like, oh, I know it's GameStop. It's a video game store. Anyone who works retail, corporate retail, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's horrible. It's bad.
But you're working. You're not playing video games all day. You're not going there to play different video games and like,
not at all.
Hey, should I buy this? Should I invest time? You're there to help other people out. And how many people come in that are absolutely rude, And I couldn't sit behind. I drive all day. I'm in and out of jobs, and I tell people, here in Michigan, it's crappy like 3 months out of the year. But other than that, it's spring, it's summer, it's fall, it's beautiful. I'm driving with the windows down. If I want to stop and get a pop, I stop and get a pop.
Yeah.
Where it's if I had to sit and look out a window at how beautiful it was, I'd go nuts. No, buddy. We're not doing this right now. I love you, but we're not doing this.
Todd says, "Did you at least keep the GameStop stocks?" I never bought into any of those. We were like in Canada.
I
In
remember that.
Canada, almost up until the end, it was still EB Games, even though we were under the GameStop
Yeah, they
brand
just
name.
recently changed it, didn't they?
I think it's all GameStop now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and I'm not slamming. Like I learned a lot. I had a lot of really great experiences at EB Games. I did, but the pandemic really showed the true colors, and it was just like, yeah, I got to get out of this. I have to. So that's why I started my YouTube. And at the time, Rob and I were shooting our TV show, Action Figure Adventure. And so it was like, hey, I'm going to learn, teach myself how to edit, teach myself how to light, how to shoot, how to blah, 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 and do it myself. So there you go.
All right. So you go to college. Did you graduate college or did you just
No.
find something? Okay.
No.
Well,
I
you
took
and
general arts and science, which is basically like grade 12. It's nothing. I didn't like it. I took general arts, which is just, kind of dip your toes and everything. I remember taking history of rock and roll, which I didn't miss one class. I loved it. And film criticism, which was bullcrap. Those were the only two that remotely interested me. I didn't like school, man. Palpatine is here. Good.
I never had any interest. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to college. I'm like, I'll do electronics. I got a co-op, and then I never went back because I just started getting jobs, and then it led me to where I'm at now, which I'm happy.
Good.
And I try and keep my kids. Well, my daughter wants to be a lawyer, I think, so she has to go to college. My son doesn't really know what he wants to be, and I'm like, it's okay, but try and have an idea because you want to go away to college. You've already picked what college you want to go to. So have an idea, but make sure that this college is going to have what you want to do because you're stuck on this college. But if you don't have an idea of a couple things and they don't really offer that, then everyone's wasting some money here.
Your daughter has so many more opportunities than our generation had, right? Like we're still fortunate enough to be able to do this, even though it's later in life, right? But again, like show your daughter Wayne's World someday, or like old Tom Green episodes, the comic, and how he had a cable access show. It's like we all can do that now. If you were to tell me we would all have our own television studios and we can edit and stuff, it's like, what are you talking about?
So for my son, unfortunately, he's at that age where he knows everything. He doesn't want to listen to anything that his mother and I say. And I told him last year, I'm like, listen, you're doing this video gaming stuff. It doesn't make a lot of money on YouTube, but start doing it. Start building a subscriber base. So when you graduate and you go off to college, maybe you're at the point where you're monetized and it brings in some money and you can
side money for it. Yeah.
But he didn't want to do it. Everything was a battle with him. And it's like, you don't start off making money. It doesn't matter what you do. That's not how life works. I mean, I guess it can, but for the most part, you normally don't start off just making money. And if you start building up now, you're 15 years old. You get to 18, maybe you have 3,000 or 4,000, subscribers.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like you have money that starts rolling in because you're monetized. And you're doing what you like doing, and then you're going to college, and then you have this extra money. But it was a fight. He didn't want to do it. I'm like, all right, listen, I'm just giving you options there. Because you're right. We all have our own talk show, our own whatever we want. Who would have ever thought that?
Yeah, it's really, really crazy to me to think that we can do this every day. And it's a blessing. It really is. And some days are better than others as far as attendance go. I'm honestly, I just feel lucky if anybody is there watching anything I do. I feel completely grateful. And a lot of my community is here now, and it's just that they're amazing people. Like I always tell them, I need you guys, you tune in to watch me. Hopefully it's entertaining, but I need you guys just as much, right? Like I enjoy.
Yeah.
Today we're playing Spider-Man, but it's really about us talking, right? That's what really it's about, right? So
Patrick asked, Jay, do you like Nardwar?
Nardwar. Yeah.
His interviews are crazy. He knows everything regardless of music type. Check out documentary if you haven't.
Yeah, I do. Nardwar was a personality on Much Music for a while. He's just like an interviewer on Much Music, which was like our MTV. Yeah, he's funny as hell, man. He's old school Canadian. Yeah.
So, all right. So I want to get back on track because I do want to get to this. Usually I get to like, where do you want to go with your YouTube channel? We're in it and we already kind of know. So growing up, how was your life with your family, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, rough, like everybody's, right? I had a dad who was an abusive alcoholic, and then a mom who was raised in the generation where no matter what happens, through thick and thin, you stick with that person and you make it work, and because that's what the generation before did, right? No matter what, you didn't get divorced, you just stuck it through.
Which is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, but it's I never blame her for any of that, but she would not leave my dad, never. And it was rough, man. Like it was rough, and I'm sure lots of people in the chat can sympathize with that. But yeah, he was not a nice guy. We didn't like each other. We never liked each other. He was just a pretty awful person.
And that's all. I mean, it's awful. I know as kids, we all think our parents are awful. I can't say that because I never thought my dad was awful. My dad, my mom passed away when I was young, and
yeah.
At 13 years old, I look at myself as an adult, and he had all these things that he had to take care of with my sister, who was younger than me.
Right.
And I just chose not to be that kid to add stress to his life, which I'm sure I still did. I never drank, I didn't smoke, I didn't do drugs, I was skateboarding. At the same time, I was out till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. But he never worried about me because he knew all the kids I was hanging out with were the same as me. Which my son's like, your grandpa watch, have to know everywhere you were. And I was like, that's not the point. Like, grandpa let me do a lot of things that I said I would not let my kids do because I don't think it's the right thing. But I was the right kid to allow to do it. But that's just, a lot of that has to do with luck too, that I didn't get into trouble.
Yeah.
And the only reason I ask is because you talked about this in your movie Nintendo Quest, and that's the only reason why I ask. And I found it a very fascinating story. I also found it very fascinating how your mom seemed to see it a little differently, where she feels like it bothers you more than you feel it bothers you. She feels that it bothered you more. That is just that I kind of got when she was talking. And I know that because I've had so many people tell me that I've never handled my mom's death. That I'm like, everyone handles things differently. There's no one wrong or right way as long as you're not self-harming yourself.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
Roman, there's nothing over there.
She smells food. Or he smells food. He or she?
It's a he.
He, okay.
I have no idea what he's looking at, but he's looking in the corner. Maybe it's the spirit of my mom, and he's like, what are you doing here, lady?
Yeah, it's really cool that you ask these kind of questions. This is beyond the surface level. If you think Zap's better than short fuse questions, right?
Yeah, and that like when I started this, I didn't want to do all toy talk because everyone knows the toys. I wanted to get to know the actual people.
Right.
And I specifically watched Nintendo Quest when you were gonna, because I knew I was gonna have you on. And when they really got into that, I was so fascinated by it because it was like what you said, how you said, I felt my mom and I were free. We were finally free from him. And you didn't come off, I didn't feel like you came off cold-hearted when you were cold-hearted, this is the way I saw it. You were cold-hearted when you thought that he was faking something. And then you were just kind of like, then he was just gone,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's the little things like that you said about running outside naked or not naked, barefoot to your friends. I think to your friend's house to have his mom call 911 or whatever it
Well,
was.
across the street, our neighbor was a nurse, and it was
Yeah.
in January, so it was like snow and all that. So I like he dropped dead in front of us, right? Like
Mhm.
right in front of us, actually. And so it's just instinct. I just ran into the house to get the nurse, right?
Yeah.
And he just had a massive heart attack. He didn't take care of himself, right? Um, so my mom dealt with that stuff by buying toys for me.
Do you remember how old were you?
When he passed,
Yeah.
99. So I don't know, you do the math, 20 something.
Oh, okay. So okay.
He
I
died in
I
99.
assume you were younger.
No. I was old enough to where it almost became physical a few times. So
Okay.
we just hated each other, right? But like he was like I never learned anything from him. And he was always, like I said in the film, he's in and out of jobs. He was a furniture salesman. And I don't dunk on anybody for what they do.
No.
I never do. But he was unhappy. And it's like I always saw him work. Dude, he worked like 9 to 9, straight commission at a furniture store. Sometimes he would come home and make nothing. 12 hours in a place that you can't stand. And everything I
You're not
always
even getting paid for it.
yeah, everything I always wanted to be, I was made fun of. I was a sissy boy because I had long hair. I'm a weirdo because I wear black all the time. I like Star Wars too long. It was just like everything that I was, he didn't like, which is where my hatred of sports comes from because he was such a sports fan, and I
Oh,
liked sports, and then I told him, Dad, I really like Michael Jordan is like I want to be like him. He's so awesome. Oh, you shouldn't be watching basketball. You should be watching hockey, or you should be like not ever encouraging me. But at the same time, it's such a mind f, right, Lawrence? Because it's like he's unhappy and he doesn't nurture me. So it's like, where do I go from here?
yeah.
Well, you turn to music, right? You turn to those faces and the albums and the sounds that come out of these, and those guys are my heroes now. I want to be like Vince Neil, man. He's riding around in a stretch limousine with a hot tub in the back with two girls. I want to be Vince Neil. That is what I want to do, right? So you look to that, and it was all about playing music and rocking as hard as we could.
So you found that you found music in so that absence, music filled that absence.
Yeah, it was that was music is everything. Like toys, video games, music, those three things, that's
Yeah.
what makes me up. But a music is like your soul, right? That's like it's something completely different. So finding that and then wanting to do that, it's like, well, you got to learn. You want to play drums. My mom's like, I'll buy you a drum set, but you got to play it. And so I learned at a very young age that nothing comes easy. And you know this, dude,
Yep.
having a YouTube channel. So many people start a YouTube channel and it's like, you know what? I'm not going to put out a video this week. I'm not going to live stream this week. And it's like, I've seen it so many times, man, and they don't last. Okay. I'm not dunking on anybody,
No.
but
Nope.
you have to find that within yourself to make yourself do that. So I learned that early from playing drums. If I wanted to play like John Bonham, I can't just sit there and play rock and roll. You got to over again until your hands are bloody. That's how you learn. So I owe music for that.
I love what you said because Matthew and I, my moderator, we've talked about this. Like when I didn't start live streaming, it'll be a year, I think, for my Black Friday giveaway. So,
Yeah.
like that'll be right around a year.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be sure, like when I started live streaming, I had Mondays in mind already because I thought Sundays and Tuesdays were already taken. Wednesdays was the day that we were skating. I think Friday and Saturday are difficult because a lot of people like to go out. And if you have a girlfriend, if you know, And so like Mondays seemed to work good, but I needed to know that once I started, this was the day that I did it. And it was going to be every week. It wasn't going to be like, well, I'm going to miss this week, or I'm going to show up late for this. And I've missed one Monday, and that's because we went to Disney World.
Right.
I'll be missing the 25th of December because, well, it's Christmas. And it's like I don't like missing. And to me, like even when I miss it, I feel like I'm letting people down. Like I'm gonna.
You are. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like these people are tuning in on Mondays. There's 60 people the whole time for 3.5 hours now. I can't believe I'm saying 3.5 because, but a lot of people, you're right, they don't get it. And it's okay. Like if you have a family and you're like, hey, you know what, listen, I just want to do this for fun and I'm going to stream every now and then. Awesome. But I know when I used to work out and people are like, oh, that's so awesome. I wish I could do it. It's like, you have to make time. If you want to work out and you want to get built, you want to lose weight, whatever you want to do, you have to make time for it. There's excuses and there's reasons, I always say. The reason why I'm not as big or in good a shape now is because I just don't care enough to eat right and go to the gym. It's not an excuse. It's the reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I mean, how do I say this? It's just I don't think it's some people have that extra drive, some don't. And I'm not just talking about YouTube. It's just I've seen it. I was in a band. I was in a band with a dude, okay? And we were playing a lot, like maybe about 2011. The last original music band I was in. We're playing a lot. And there was a dude in the band, and he loved the idea of being on that stage. He loved the idea of the girls coming around, talking to him. He wanted to be on that stage. He loved people watching him. But he was always, can't make practice. I got this, I got that. Always an excuse, right? And now he came to watch us play like a month ago. And he's like, you could play guitar? He's like, dude, you're better than I am. How? I'm like, I just learned, man. It's like, you just do the work. It's really simple for anything you want to do. You have to do the work. You're not going to get something handed to you or a skill handed to you, right? And Jesus, I'm not Slash. I'm just saying, like,
no, but again, there are people that are just naturally talented, but even those people work at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like for me, listen, I can't play guitar, but I guarantee you that if I sat there for 4 days every week, spent an hour just kind of messing around watching YouTube, I'd learn how to play. I might not be great, but I would learn how to play it. And you'd be like, oh, wow. 6 months later, you're like, wow, you've really progressed. Same with like skateboarding. If I'm not out skateboarding, which I don't skate as much, I knew for a fact I'm not as good. But when I was skating 5 days a week when I was a kid, 7 days a week, you're getting better. And then you see these other kids that, they'd rather skateboard. They haven't rode in like 3 months and like, oh my God, you're so good. And it's like, it's because it's all I do. I'm like you don't realize it as a kid. You just realize like, well, I skate every day. Same with music. And again, if you're not putting the work in, you don't progress. It seems like such a simple concept that people overlook.
Random Diorama just said, just do the work, bruh. I like that. That's
no, random is awesome.
My good. That's a great statement, mate. My buddy Joe has a saying. It's like, it's real simple, dude. It's just do the work. Yes. You want to be as good as this. You want to be as good as that. Just do the work. You just do the work. You just shut up and just do the work. You can have a million excuses all day long. If you want something bad enough, you're going to get it. You have to do it, though. It's not going to come to you.
And for me, I've always looked at people that are better than me that I want to strive to be. Like I looked at skateboarders and I would say, I want to be as good as him. I don't want to be as good as him so I can be, or I want to be as good or better than him. I don't want to be as good or better than him so I can say, oh, I'm better than you. But it's because they're that good. But when I get to that level, I'm expecting them to be even further. So now I'm looking at them again like, oh, I want to get to that level because you want to progress because it's more fun to do more. It's more fun to do more tricks. It just is. you know. Now I would assume with guitars, like it's more fun to learn new music.
Yeah, it's like and this is something that has always been with me. I never wanted to be the guy watching the band. I wanted to be the guy who was in the band. That, like, honestly, dude, I never wanted to be the dude in the stands. I always wanted to be the guy who was in the band. That's just me. I think again, it goes back to when I was a kid, performing for my mom's friends like Michael Jackson, right? I always wanted to be an entertainer. So
So no stage fright. You have no.
I'm nervous. Every single time before I hit that live button, I'm definitely nervous, 100%.
Yeah, but nervous. But like, I mean, I was the same way. Now, I mean, there are days now that I'm still the same way. Like, is anyone going to show up and watch? Am I
Yeah.
going to be talking to myself? I see a lot of YouTubers that talk to themselves with two or three people watching.
Yep.
And that's hard. That's like these punk bands that are playing to three people in the audience, and you're like, there's more people working the sound than are actually here to watch you. That's paying your dues. That's sitting there paying your dues, to to make it.
Yeah, I mean, music has been so devalued now, but I mean, that's another podcast we can do, man. Like, the state of music today is, yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal.
But I think what's funny what you said, how you never wanted to be that person watching.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the old people at the punk shows standing up against the wall, just sitting there watching, and I'm always in the pit, and I'm like, I never want to be that person. Now, at almost 48, I'm so happy to be that person that holds up the wall while Pennywise or Rancid or whoever is playing.
Yeah.
I can just sit back and I'm like, I don't want to go in that pit. I have nothing to prove. I spent 20 years in that thing. I'm short. I was built. I didn't get knocked around. I'm not that anymore. Like you said, we don't heal like we used to.
Well, the bands that I listen to, my main bands now, dude, they haven't had pits probably since the early 2000s. So I'm safe there. Safe that way.
Yeah, Matthew, the first thing he said was, consistency is king. And I mean, I had an idea of that. And before I started doing my live streams, it was always like, all right, I have to be here at that time every single whatever day it was going to be. And that's what I did. And I believe it's helped grow the channel. Obviously,
sure, yeah.
I still say I don't know why people tune in to listen to me for 3 hours, 3+ hours, but they do. And I know for a fact, I'm very grateful of the chat. The chat is communicating. To sit there and watch me, not have guests on Mondays, just hear what my voice is, but I read the chat and I'm watching the chat. And I'm like, these people are conversating with each other. They are what makes the show go. Without them, I'm talking to myself. Yeah,
dude, it's like any art form, like music, movies, YouTube, whatever you're creating. If you don't have an audience, you can't do the thing you want to do.
Yes.
Right. So I've always been like, our first project was Nintendo Quest. Ever since that, even before in bands and stuff, I was always so grateful if 10 people would come see our band. If we sold 10 tickets to people in Vegas for Nintendo Quest, we were always grateful, man. It's like, wow, we made something and 10 people actually want to watch it. That's friggin' great, man. I was never this guy who's like, oh, I only have 10 people in this stream. That's just a defeatist attitude. You gotta be grateful for this stuff, man.
No, and I was actually just talking to someone. I was talking to Shark Eyes.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about some stuff, and I said something about like I'm kind of stuck on an average of like 60 people watching throughout the whole stream.
That's great.
It is
great.
And he just asked a question. And he's like, "That's really good." Like, and I'm like, "No, I'm very grateful of it." But when you hit that point that you're at 60, me, it's kind of like, all right, now it's time to shoot for 70. And when you hit that 70, and that's just how I look at things. Because like I want the show to grow. I want everything, But I also, as I'm very cognizant of what's going on, there's a lot of semi-regulars that may not be jumping in. They're busy that day. And
Yeah.
and there's also the replay. And I know a lot
Yeah.
of people watch the replay. And I think the replay is huge. If people are watching your replay,
Yeah.
it means they are invested in you and your content and what you have to say, what your voice is.
I agree.
And he said, why do you think you're stuck on 60? And I was just like, I just think there's a lot of stuff still going on, and it takes time. Like, I'm in for the long haul. Like, I enjoy doing it, but everyone in this chat, it's what makes this thing go around. When I watch you guys on Friday, because that's really the only day that I get a chance to watch it.
Yeah.
When you see the chat, their communication and the way they're interacting with each other, I believe helps your, the content that you and chat are putting out there.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, Chad is doing incredible. Like he is crushing it. He's such a great dude with he's just so likable. And what's great about Chad is he speaks his mind without being distasteful. He's got a very comedic approach to it, and it works. I think he's great, but Chad's a pretty new channel too, man. He's crushing it.
Yeah.
I like Allison's comment there. Like Brittany says, you better work, bitch. That's funny.
Just be careful with your knives.
Yeah, we don't. What's going on there? That's a whole other thing. I don't even know what's going on with that, man. I got derailed at that comment. That was funny. Bring us back on topic, buddy.
Oh boy, I don't remember.
I'm lost.
We pretty much got stuck on YouTube and
yeah. So growth. I just saw random dioramas comment there. Yeah, I think, dude, don't get bogged down with stats. I think too many YouTubers, too many Twitch streamers are obsessed with their metrics, me being one of them, right? But try not to be bogged down with that. You're averaging 60 people come to listen to you, man. And every day when I stream, if there's 5 or if there's 15, whatever, I am so grateful. It will grow over time, man.
Oh yeah.
It's like a radio station, right? Like, you're available every Monday night. Your audience knows that good old Lawrence will be there at 9 p.m. on Monday.
So here's something that I've never told anyone here.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with numbers.
Sure.
It doesn't mean it's not just that. I just have this obsession with numbers, and whether it goes up, whether things go down, I love growing. That comes off wrong. I love growing something. I love growing things.
That's what she said. I know what you mean. Yeah.
But I love the growth of just
when you see new. Like every time I do 10 subs, hit that new mark, it's great. Of course it's great. It's growth. It means that you're not losing subs, right? You don't want to be losing subs. But yeah, I agree. But you can't let it take over.
No, you have to continue. Like you said, whether you have 5 people or 50 people watching or 500, you do need to put in the same effort.
Sure, of course.
You have to show them that, hey, it doesn't matter. I've seen people, they're upset because they got 200 views on a review they did. And it's like, hey, maybe you put something wrong in the description that the algorithm didn't catch. Or maybe people just didn't like it. No big deal. Move on to your next one.
Yeah. You got to put it out. You just got to put it out.
Yeah. And it's just continue to get better when it comes to everything, especially like you said, you're working at making this a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that's difficult, especially when someone like myself knows how much YouTube pays for certain things.
Right.
I know how much YouTube takes for super chats, which
it's better than Twitch, man. Twitch is 50-50 split. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to get into that because people are sending you a super chat and you don't want people to think like, oh, so YouTube's taking all the money. They're not taking all the money, but unfortunately, I think they take a little too much when you're trying to say, hey, I like your content. I don't like YouTube. I'm not giving it to you.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's I guess what a Patreon's for, right? I suppose, right? But
yeah, I haven't started one of those, and I really don't think that I want to.
it's all built into YouTube now. You don't need that with memberships and stuff. I mean, they take a
Yeah.
cut, but you know what? We're using their streaming platform to make it a living. They,
Oh,
they gotta they gotta make money, right?
oh, yeah. You see, I'm not saying that they shouldn't take a cut. I'm just saying that they shouldn't take for certain things as big of a cut as they do. That's
Yeah,
because then the tax man also takes it.
sure. It does. It's hard to. And hey, down south, you're welcome. You can do me a favor and sub to my channel after this broadcast. I would love you if you come hang out with me too. Lawrence is introducing me to all you awesome people here. So
Yeah, down south has just started his channel. So if you guys haven't checked out Down South 77,
yep.
check him out. He's another one, and this is like he hit me up and asked me some advice, which I have no problem. I actually love helping out guys that are just starting or they want advice because I've watched so many hours of Nick Nimmin and vidIQ and these other channels on how to grow. It's like I want to pass on some of the stuff because how many mistakes did we make that one person could have said, "Hey, try it like this rather than like that," and you could have been like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, you just saved me 6 months of doing something that I didn't need to do."
Eric, you're the best, buddy, and I mean that. That's very nice. I appreciate that very much. I was lucky, I'm lucky enough to be friends with Michael Mercy. He's actually a good buddy of mine. And Michael is like my Obi-Wan. He's taught me a lot. He's got a big channel. It's almost 90,000. But
Yeah, I know the name.
Yeah, he helped me with what to do and what not to do kind of thing. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, if anybody, you guys can reach out to me too. I don't have all the answers. I really don't. My channel's very small, right? But I got a pretty good idea of how YouTube works. So anyone hit me up if you have any questions for sure.
Yeah, to actually earn without having a million followers, you need sponsorships and affiliate programs or product. I agree 100%. And that's why you see guys like myself have channel memberships. I put merchandise out there, affiliate leaks to, Hella Dope Toys and not Instagram, Amazon, different things like that. And it's all those little things. As long as you're putting it back into your channel and not into your pocket until you can actually make a living off of it. But yeah.
I just want to say, hey, down south, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. I love your Cobra Commander picture too, by the way. I got sidetracked again. Old man brain.
Oh, don't worry. That's how all my channels.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say we're talking about getting sponsorships from companies and stuff like that. The thing is, I've had a couple, and my channel's just it doesn't get that kind of traction, right? So it hasn't really turned out well. But if you want like a sponsorship from like God knows who knows, like a hot sauce company or something, you got to have like 50,000 followers, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it seems to me the bigger you get, the easier it is. Do you know what I mean? You have more opportunities the bigger you are. I mean, that probably sounds stupid. That makes sense.
Right? I mean, that's again, Matthew Pagani. He does Lincoln. Like he doesn't need them. He doesn't need free Lincoln.
Dude, isn't that hilarious? I was talking about that the other day. I'm like, nobody just starts a YouTube channel and is instantly big. Well, that's not true. Matthew McConaughey can. It's like 100,000 subs in a day.
Again, like you see these commercials, and it's like I don't need him to sell me the car. Why don't you go find a struggling actor to sell me a Lincoln, a Chrysler, or whatever? Don't get an actor that's already making millions of dollars. They don't need the money. They don't need the free product. Give it to somebody that's trying to work their way up.
The first 1,000 is the hardest. I know it's down to 500 now. They've changed it.
Yes and no. It's 500 and 3,000 watch hours. You can get super chats and channel memberships, but you still don't get monetization on your videos.
Right.
You still need 1,000, 1,000, 4,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's still better. Like my buddy
Oh
Willie
yeah.
Lowe,
So
who's a fantastic gaming streamer. He's just come over here from Twitch, and he's trying to get that 500 mark. But I would say the first 1,000 is the hardest. Once you want that monetization, that's the hardest. And then you get to it, and you're like, really? How much is 1,000 views? $3? What? Hey, DJ, thank you very much. Appreciate that, mate. Punk's about to hit 3K.
yeah,
All
I
right.
think I was like 3 away earlier today.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Believe me, I watched it. I watched it hit like I was 10 away, then I was 7 away, and then I lost like 3
Well, hang on,
subscribers.
I'm
And you're
pretty
like, God, I
sure,
just want to hit 3,000 now.
dude. I gotta be sub to you. Let me just, if I'm not, let me just check.
I think you are. I mean,
I gotta be, but if not, we're gonna do that now. Let's see where you're at. I spelled punk wrong. Anyway, continue, man. Let's continue. This is a good time. I'm having a good time.
but where the hell were we again?
I don't know. Talking about YouTube.
So for you, with like, when did you decide that, hey, you know what, I want to make this a career?
Last October, when I made a video on my YouTube channel. Anyone who's just subbed to me, okay. My career is making video game and toy content. So we have a toy show on Jinx Esports TV in Canada here called Action Figure Adventure, which is kind of like Nintendo Quest with toys, but we're putting it towards charity instead of my shelf. So I started off as a primarily toy content channel, and then last October, I made a video. It was basically it was called Hasbro Enough is Enough, where I just go off Chad style, where I'm like, I'm not gonna pay $50 for a 6-inch figure, windowless packaging, blah blah blah, all the things we've all complained about. And then in October, I just started doing game streams. So my two loves really I just merged. So I still do toy content, but it's video games and toys now. It's not just toys.
Yeah. So Nintendo Quest here, I mentioned it a couple of times. I wanted to pull it up for
Yeah.
2 reasons: to show once again I have a new computer and now I can pull up other websites and I don't freeze up for 5 minutes.
That's great. Hey.
It's wonderful. It's been a thorn in my side. So, like I said, I watched Nintendo Quest when I knew I was going to have you on here. I had no idea what it was about.
Yeah.
I thought it was like an actual movie, like that one that Doogie Howser did like last year, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then I'm like, oh, this is like an adventure. Like, this is a real. They really challenged him to do this. You know what I mean? It's kind of like documentary style, and I found it very interesting. Your compassion for people is amazing. The guy that wouldn't sell you a specific thing, or was kind of snooped you out.
Oh yeah.
And then bought it, and you're like, I understand, because if I was looking for it too, I would kind of do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But if you haven't watched Nintendo Quest, I wanted to pull it up here. Check it out. It's an hour and a half. It's fun. You do learn a lot about Jay. I mean, in all honesty, you really do. I mentioned earlier the whole, your whole dad thing. I love the fact that you did this with your friends and everything, guys that you grew up with. So I just kind of wanted to pull that up really quick.
Yeah, that was the first thing I ever did was Nintendo Quest, and I'm in it. It's not like Rob McCallum is the director. We both came up with the idea, and it's a reality. Like, it's not scripted. That was the first thing we did. We shot in 2013. It came out 2015.
You were a young lad then.
Dude, 10 years. I know, 10 years. I you can't really see. I have this crease now, which I didn't have before. I have that now.
So I have a giant vein when I get angry.
Oh, there you go. The pulsating.
Yeah, I mean, I never see it because I'm never looking in the mirror when I'm angry, but people would start telling me, they're like, oh man, when you get angry, there's just this vein I'm like, I don't have a vein there. I'm like, why am I not looking in a mirror when I'm angry?
That's funny.
So the TV show that you guys do.
Yeah.
All right. So how long have you been doing it, and how often is it on?
Action figure adventure. It's on Amazon right now, I believe. We have 2 seasons of that. The first season came out in 2019, and then 2021 was the second season. It's the same deal where I go across North America, but I'm picking out which toys I think will do well in an auction. And then at the end of each season, we auction the toys off, and all the proceeds go to the Children's Health Foundation. So it's a children's hospital in London here.
Okay, so I watched it even before I knew who you were.
You did watch it?
Yeah, I did, and I didn't know that's what it was called. I think it was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Was it on during the pandemic?
Well, yeah, yes. We shot it actually in 2019, and that stuff happened in 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was watching it because I was just looking up action figure stuff, and I came across like the Toys That Made Us, and then what's the other one on Amazon? A Toy Store Near You.
Yeah.
That's actually how I found Kokomo Toys.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And we actually went there a couple years ago. We went to St. Louis. On our way back, we stopped there in in Kokomo, so we could go there.
That's cool, dude. Yeah.
I watched it because I remember you're making phone calls, and you're trying to like, we're gonna auction all this stuff off, and I remember watching, and it was before I knew who you were.
Yeah, that's what a small world, eh? That's crazy. Yeah. That one I think is still on Amazon. Yeah, for sure. We've done 2 seasons of that. It's with our Canadian partners, Jinx Esports TV, which is like a gaming channel here in Canada. And they show it. We're working on our newest project. Is called Nintendo 64 Quest. We're shooting that right now. Same deal, except my mom passed away from Alzheimer's. So this time it's me collecting all the 64 games in X number of time. And if I do that, auction it off, and all the proceeds will go to the Alzheimer's Society. So it's changed where Nintendo Quest was all for me and my shelf. Now it's like I still get to experience these things and have fun with them, but they go to help others, right?
But a lot of it is about the hunt. I know there's a lot of guys that collect toys, and then they sell them off 3 or 4 months later, and he's like, I just love hunting. I love hunting for the toys. There's certain things that I want to keep forever, but other things I just, I just want to get rid of. Guys, so this is funny. So Roman will not be ignored for long. Roman is right here. I'm petting him the whole time. Come up here. He's not like.
He's like, no. Dad, what are you doing? You're talking to the TV again.
You'll sit there. Yeah, I know. But we can't do this right now. There's no one here. There's no one here. All right? You can go lay down. You sit here for like 10 hours by yourself when I'm at work. It's like, Lawrence, acknowledge Roman. Like, he's sitting right here and I'm petting him.
Very cute. That's awesome. What kind of dog?
He's a pit bull.
Oh, nice. I got two Jack Russells, which is the equivalent to having like 8 dogs. They're just little firecrackers, man.
Yeah, like, okay, so I gotta mention that. In your Nintendo Quest, man, you like break our hearts with your puppy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, man, like, come on, like, I didn't need this.
so again, these are events that happened during the filming.
Yes.
Rob is the writer director. So it's this stuff with my dad, right? So this is my first time I've done any of this stuff. So he sat me down in a room and he put the camera on and we just started talking. And it all just came out. And then he cut it into an interesting story, like the backstory. I mean, I didn't know any of that. So I thought it was just me going to hunt Nintendo games. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool.
That's kind of what I thought it was going to be.
It's around the time when that stuff started to be, people were making YouTube videos of going to Walmart and buying toys, so it's like, this could be interesting, but he made it personal. I didn't know any of that stuff was going to be in it.
No, it makes it so I want to watch it. I want to know. I want to know more about you.
That's cool. I
And even
appreciate
the
it.
other people that are on the quest with you. You know, I think it's just wonderful. But then the whole dog story, and dogs, again, we know they don't live as long as us. And
Yeah.
listen, I've never said this before, but he is so integrated into this community, and he's like 7, so he's got good years left on him.
He's good. Yeah, of course.
I'm like, what happens when he's gone? Like I've built a whole thing around him. You don't just replace him, but it's weird.
It is
Think
weird.
about all these things. I think about all these things.
Well, dude, dogs are. Someone said dogs. Down south said dogs are greater than people all day. I kind of agree with that. I mean, my dogs are brothers. I got Jack Russells are my favorite, right? So this is my second Jack Russell, and my mom went with me, so she got a dog from the litter too. And obviously, mom got sick, and it was like, she just said, no matter what happens, take care of Ghost, which is the other dog. So I have the brothers together now.
I saw that.
But it's like I lost Spencer during the movie, who was my first Jack Russell. And at the end of the movie, when I'm playing the game, you see my baby Liam. So it's really kind of beautiful, right? I mean,
yeah.
And I have Liam still. He's downstairs right now, probably getting into some shit. But yeah, dogs are incredible. I've always been a dog person. I love animals. To me, like the worst kind of movie, a horror movie, whenever there's a dog, like Amityville Horror. Do you remember the end of Amityville Horror? They go back in to get the dog in the basement. You remember that? Did you ever see it?
I know. I've never seen it.
So they're evacuating the house. The ghosts and the demons are going to take it over, and they're driving away. They're safe, and then Margot Kidder's like, "Where's the dog?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So they stop, and he runs back into the basement through like hell, basically, to save the dog. So that's what like my ultimate horror is. Something happens to animals. Like I can't do it.
Right? They become such.
Of course,
they're so part of us.
Do you let your dog sleep with you? You let your dog on the furniture? I assume all that stuff.
So
kind of, sort of.
So what's funny about that is I didn't want a dog. My ex left. She took her own little Shih Tzu Bichon mix, right?
Yep.
She took that dog. I don't have the kids. I go skateboarding after work. I don't have to come home. I'm not tied to anything, right?
Right.
When I have the kids, I'm home after work every day. And then a friend of mine posts that someone is looking for a home for this dog. And I asked the question, well, how much do they want? Or I asked about the dog. And she said, do you want the dog? I'm like, no, I don't. And then I go up to her work. She worked at a restaurant. And I'd go up there in the morning on Sundays. And they had a patio. And she's like, the dog's here if you want to see it. I'm like, I don't want to see the dog. And then she comes back and I'm like, okay, let me see the dog. So I go see the dog.
It's over.
He's like 7 months old.
It's
just
over.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, like, why don't you want it? Well, he's getting bigger than the other dogs. He's really a one dog home. We're scared the other dogs are nipping at him and he's going to insert his dominance. I'm like, well, if you can be up here next week, I'll bring my kids up. And if he seems to get along with them, we'll take him. But I need you to do a couple of things. Like, you need to get him fixed because I don't have time to do that, right? I don't know enough about it. I bring my kids up there. Boom. They fall in love with them. I'm like, do you want the dog? And they're like, what? I'm like, it's our dog if we want it. And I mean, instantly, he was a bond. So
yeah,
I asked him, I'm like, hey, does he get on the furniture? I gotta remember what I was talking about. So I asked the owners, hey, does he get on the furniture? And they're like, well, he does, but we try and get him not to. I'm like, I don't want him sleeping in my bed. I don't want him on my furniture. And they're like, okay, we'll try and break him. Yeah, that didn't last long. He was on the furniture. I bought a bed for him to sleep next to my bed. And I was like, you sleep down there. You sleep down there. But every time I woke up, he was in bed with me because he was smart enough to realize this idiot's asleep. I'll just jump in the bed. So I just gave up. I'm like, you know what? Just come on.
I'm no dog expert, but it's the pack mentality, right? Like
Yeah.
they want to be with their pack, they want to be with their people. It's just normal. So I think, yeah, like my dogs have always been on the furniture. They sleep with us and stuff like that. It's like it's just the way it is, right?
And if I got another dog, I wouldn't even try and break them. I would just be like, you know what?
Just do it,
This
man.
is my house.
Dude,
This is
it's
your house.
just
This
a
was the
couch.
first time I had a big dog.
Yeah.
And yet he's ruined my furniture for the most part. But
Just
I mean,
furniture.
it's a little old.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, I just need to get some covers for it. But yeah, if I was to get another dog, especially like his size, wouldn't even try it. Just get up. But if I need, he'll go in his bed and sleep. You know, he'll go in his cage and sleep there.
Right.
He doesn't have a problem. He still uses it just to go, just to go there.
It's family, man. They gotta sleep in the bed. They gotta sleep in the furniture. They want to be with you, right? That's worst thing you could do to a dog is keep them away from you.
I agree.
So,
and he what he does, like when my daughter's here, he's with my daughter almost the whole time until I go to sleep, and then he comes into my room and gets in my bed.
There you go.
But he follows her upstairs. He's always in her room. It's like that's his person he needs to protect, and he knows it.
Yeah.
But I'm his number one person.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like he's always going to come to me because he knows I'm the one that takes care of him. But he needs to take care of her.
Yep.
Till I go to sleep.
The pack mentality, man. It's a beautiful thing, and I love all kinds of dogs. I love them. They're awesome. So great.
So I gotta ask, you've never discussed this. Are you married, in a relationship or anything?
That I usually don't bring up.
Okay.
That I usually don't talk about. I remember he said, "Is there anything that he won't talk about?" Yeah, that stuff I usually like to keep a little private. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I always ask, like, how does your significant other like accept everything that you're doing if you are? I've been single I've seen people. I have a friend that has gotten out of a relationship, married, is now a widow, and now she's dating other people. And here I'm like, hey, I'm still single.
So what? I mean, everybody is different, okay? But I've seen this a lot. I've seen people get into relationships, and they take all their stuff, whatever it is that they're into, and it's like, well, now I have to get rid of all this stuff because the wife is moving in or we're getting a place together and she doesn't want this in the house. Have you ever heard of this? One of your friends? Has this happened to one of your friends?
Oh, before? Yeah.
I don't get it, man. And I'm not saying that stuff defines you, but it's a part of you here. Regardless if you have the physical objects or not, it's still here. Like whatever it is, anyone who wants to be with you that makes you get rid of anything, dude, don't waste your friggin' time, man.
I've never understood the mentality where people want to change their significant other. Isn't that who you fell in love with? Didn't you fall in love with them because they love their precious moments, right?
Yeah.
My precious moments, I mean, from Hallmark, right?
Yeah.
So someone's collecting precious moments.
So
that they're into horror. Why would you want to change them and make them exclude that?
I don't know why people control people. It doesn't make sense to me. To kind of answer your question, I've never had that situation though. No. Yeah. People, when they meet me, they come over here, they know what they're in for. Like my house is it's like a kid's house, right? It really is.
Oh, listen, I have a small house and all my classified are all in the living room.
Yeah.
They are everywhere. A matter of fact, I've been looking at the class because last year I started doing like all my classified and how they're displayed. I'm looking at it at the end of the year and I'm looking at it going, I've moved them to be in front of the TV, which I have to move them because that's where all the Christmas decorations go.
Oh yeah.
So am I going to do this? I probably end up doing it before the end of the year. Not like a big deal, but just do that before the end of the year. But then I'll miss certain things that came out this year. But at the same time, I have things that were my mom's, these ceramic paintings, these ceramic Mr. and Mrs. Claus that she painted that I told my dad I want those.
Yeah.
They go up there every single year, Christmas tree and everything. So probably won't look right with a Hiss tank next to it.
Well, dude, it's really all, what you want. I remember my mom always saying to me, when you get your own place, you're never going to be able to have like Star Wars posters and stuff on your wall. And I was always just like, well, you just wait and see, man, because that's
Yeah.
what it's going to be like.
So what was funny is that when I lived with my ex, she pretty much decorated everything. When we lived together for 11 months, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have skateboards on the wall. And
Dude,
people kind of looked at me, but I was kind of like, people look, it's like, why would you put a skateboard on the wall? That's immature. But it's like, if you walked in and saw someone with a guitar hanging on the wall, you don't think that. Right?
Yeah.
Because, if you play guitar, like, that's not a kid thing, but you think of skateboarding as immature. I'm like, listen, I bought this skateboard because that was the first video that I love skateboarding. So like the 3 boards that I have on my wall are all of videos from the 80s and early 90s that helped define skateboarding and me loving skateboarding. And again, yeah, if I'm throwing up ones that I've trashed, yeah, then you might go, okay, that's a little, that's a little immature there.
But the point is it's stuff that means something to you.
Yes.
And I really feel like you shouldn't ever have to defend that. And I think if you meet a level-headed person, they will see that this is what makes up Lawrence. He's a skate dude, obviously. Like, and they will accept that. If they don't, man, then you can't waste your time. Life's too short, and there's way too many people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be wasting your time. Again, like, why people want to change other people, I don't get that.
No, because that's what makes people who you are. And the other thing is, I've never wanted a significant other that's just like me. That sounds awful.
You hear that people, it's like, oh, they have like this list, right? It's like, I got to meet a woman who is blonde and has blue eyes and 5'2", and she likes, Warrant and all that. It's like, dude, you're going to be one lonely person if you're trying to meet somebody to, to check off all these boxes, especially the older you get. It's like
the dating sites are the worst because they have this little box.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't fit that box perfectly, they don't even want to talk to you. And it's like, remember when you organically meet someone and you're like, that's not the typical person I'd be interested in, but there's just something about the chemistry. But since no one wants to meet in real life anymore, everything has to be only through here.
World's a scary place, man. Like,
yeah,
what can I say? It just is. Like, dating now is rough, dude. It's like you're scrolling through Facebook on these apps, right? It's like, nope. These are real people, man.
Yeah, listen, I never thought, again, being single in your 40s, like, you don't realize, it's like, man, it's awful. Like, I mean, what I mean by it's awful to find someone because you don't have big groups of people you hang out with,
Yeah.
That pool has gotten smaller.
Sure.
And it's kind of like, it's not easy to try and date. Now, don't get me wrong. I would rather be completely single for the rest of my life than with someone and unhappy.
Yeah. I think hopefully, as we get older, we all learn that lesson. I think, I've had my share of girlfriends that it hasn't worked out with, right? And the older I get, the less tolerant I am. And not just, don't get me wrong, it's like, it doesn't have to be my way or the highway. It's more like, well, do we really want to be together? Like, you have all these differences and I have all these differences. And it's just like, why are we wasting our time? Why are we trying to make it fit into this mold? Right? There's nothing wrong with calling it a day. Say like, you know what, there's probably somebody else better suited for you. And same for me, I think that's the mature adult thing. I think people have too much ego. And it's like, they don't want their ego to be bruised. Oh, what do you mean she doesn't like me? I'll make sure she likes me. It's just like, why?
Especially when you get to an age where it's like, I'm not having more kids. Like, I have no intention of having kids.
You don't want to be like David Letterman. He had his first kid when he was 60. Like, that's crazy.
No, I would be in the fetal position.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know, so you're right. Like, when you get to the point where it's like, listen, this isn't going to work out. The last girl that I dated, you know, some stuff happened,
yeah,
and I said, hey, we kind of got to take a break here. You know, it's not fair for me to string you along because things are going on in my life right now with my son. And the first thing that she said was, well, where does this leave us? And I was like, excuse me. And then she sent these messages at me. And I'm like, well, you had those locked and loaded. And you just, all those red flags that I was seeing, you just waved them completely. And I went, yep, okay. And
yeah.
I'm done. I don't need that in my life. You know, like, we've all had enough stress in our life. Why are we going to add more?
You know
You know
what,
what?
dude? I will just say to you, hopefully you're not closed off. Just let it come as it comes. But
Oh, I'm
I've
happy that
learned
happened.
I've learned, Lawrence, from the dating apps, and I've been on those, man, and I've met people on them, and it's not for me, man. Like, this
No, it's
it's just not for. I would rather just meet somebody randomly at a store. You're at a store, you meet somebody, or you're at a bar having a drink or something, you meet somebody.
yeah, like I said, I don't like I said, if it happens, it happens. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
You know, um, we all get the internet.
Yeah.
We all get the internet if we really need anything.
There you go. Yeah. There's always that, right?
So going forward, I know we've already talked about like the YouTube and everything. What do you see? Do you have anything in the works going forward that you're looking to tackle to help you grow where you're doing this full time? Or are you looking at other media? Because you said you already do uh, action figure. Sorry, I'm gonna ruin it.
Action figure adventure. Yeah.
Action figure adventure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do. I play music every day. To some degree, the toys are around every day. Video games are here every day. Those are my three main passions in life. So as long as I have those, I mean, I'm not going to add music to my YouTube channel because it doesn't fit, right? I would love to do a music channel, just talk about the history of whatever. I think that would be great. Destro, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. You're late, so you're gonna have to answer for that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that figure.
Just keep making the content that I'm making. Like, it's I did 2 movies. Well, I did one documentary with my friend Rob, Nintendo Quest. Then we made a follow-up called the Nintendo Quest Power Tour, which was a documentary of us touring the movie across North America.
This is your Nintendo Quest.
Yeah. And then we did a TV show. We're still doing a TV show, Action Figure Adventure. Our new project is Nintendo 64 Quest. So yeah, we're constantly doing stuff. My buddy Rob is the director responsible for the Mr. Dress Up documentary that just came out on Amazon.
I have not watched that yet.
Yeah,
I know we talked about it when I was on the stream with you.
Yeah, you were with Jordan, our producer. Yeah.
And I gotta say, the little that I talked to Rob, he seems like he really knows what the hell he's talking about, and everything that he talked, like, I was like, wow, like, this is exactly. Obviously, I don't have experience, but I'm like, that's how I feel like I would see things for the most part.
Yeah.
He just little things that I'm like, why don't other people see that? And again, corporations make rules that not all of us like.
Oh, Todd, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's on Tubi as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I watched it.
Yeah. Well, that was Jordan. That was our producer. That's not Rob. Not to correct you, but Rob's different. Jordan is our producer, and he was the one who was on the Star Wars show with us. Jordan is a professional screenwriter. So to what you were saying, he looks at the Book of Boba Fett in a different lens, right? So he used to own a toy store, so he has the toy background. He sees the fandom that you and I see, but then he also sees the screenwriting. So that's why he's so articulate about this stuff, right? Because he can see why Disney is making these decisions and how it's just ruining everything, right? Did you keep track and field? Did I keep track and field?
I think you're Nintendo.
Oh, stadium events. The collection I sold many years after to fund a condo that I was buying with my girlfriend at the time, which was not a great choice to move in with her. But, she's in the past. Yeah. Speaking of mistakes,
just always get the house in your name.
it was.
This
It was, thankfully. But
this house was in my name.
you know, you don't know at the time. You wish you could get in the DeLorean and tell future Jay, dude, don't go that way. Dude, Lawrence, I'm telling you right now, man. I met her on Bumble, which was
I know that one.
I think that's the one where the ladies have to message
Yes.
you. Right? So I was on Tinder and that meat market. I'm just like, I don't want nothing to do with this stuff, right? So I met her on that. And it turned out huge freaking mistake. All that stuff, man. You're never gonna find people of any kind of value, at least in my experience, going through that stuff, right?
Well, I did meet my kid's mom on Match.com. Right. That was the early stages. That was 2000.
Sure, yeah.
And I had never heard this. This was a couple years. This was right after Andrew was born. And he's 17 now.
Wow.
And someone kept referring to him as a point click baby. I'm like, what? He's a point click baby.
Oh, I got
you. What? And they're like, you went on a dating site. Now this was before apps and everything. And I was like, yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Point click relationship. I'd never heard that before. Now, obviously that's how everyone meets. So
And Matthew, yeah, you met your current wife there. One of my best friends also met his wife on there. So, my experience is not the be all to end all, right? That's just the experience I had with it. It just wasn't for me. But that's great.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
This is a great story. And I just want to answer Todd here. I do keep in touch with him. His name is Todd Curtis. Todd, is that you? That would be hilarious if that was Todd.
he's checking. No, Todd's been in. He's in this chat.
His name's Todd Curtis, who I got stadium events off of. Yeah, that's amazing. That's like your initials too.
Like he's been in my chat before, so that would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious if it was Todd.
It's like he's been watching my show, and here you just happen to show up, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna find out. No, it's not me.
Hey, same initials, dude. There you go. Good name. It's a good name.
Why didn't you keep it going? You should have been like, yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, but Jay, you don't message me anymore, man. What's going on? Yeah, he's a good dude, man. His collection is crazy. Two people, Lawrence, I've met throughout my career doing this stuff. Todd Curtis had the best video game collection I've ever seen, and then Carson Metaxas runs 3D Joe's. Hanging out with him and going to his place, dude. It's like the mecca.
You've said that numerous times. Two things. Well, one thing about Carson, I cannot. It took me forever when people would say his last name, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you talking about his taxes? And I never saw his name, and I was watching something with him, and someone brought it up, and he's like, yeah, I constantly got to explain to people like, no, that's my name. They're not talking about my taxes. I was like, oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now that now that someone's saying that, you should watch the Thursday with a Friend that I did with PNC, because he has a pretty big video game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he has that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on, because I'm like, I want something that's different, that isn't all about toys. He was one. I think he was the fourth person I did. I'm like, I want other. I don't want it just to be toys, because everyone talks about toys. Let's find out more about these people that are in my community. And again, I found you because of Chad.
But they really go hand in hand, don't they? Video games and toys, and I would even throw in a splash of comic books. I think it's
comic books are huge.
It's all the same thing. It really is. I mean, it's all the same fandom. Hey, Big Rib, what's up?
I think a lot. I mean, again, I think so much of that geekdom is what it really becomes, but it's not anymore. You know, a 17-year-old in high school now, if he's buying action figures, I don't think he's getting made fun of like we would be getting made fun of
It's
buying
different.
action figures because
It's different.
Marvel movies,
Yeah.
they're all over. Video games, every athlete is playing video games, and no one blinks
Yeah.
an eye about it.
It's not this geeky little thing that you kind of did.
Nope.
It's not like the dingy arcade scene of the early 90s where you'd go in and you open the door and it's all blackness and everyone kind of looks at you. They're like, the lights. It's not like that anymore. It's like everybody plays some form of game now. So I'm glad though. I'm glad it's super mainstream. Like, because we come from the time when if you played video games and did all that stuff, I mean, you weren't too looked at too fondly from some folks. It was weird.
No, and it's nice to feel like I said earlier about the skaters that are just like who thinks that you're too old, and it's like, again, I come from a different generation where the old people were really only 5 to 7 years older than me. There weren't old people that did it.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah,
Tony Hawk and them have paved the way, but
yeah.
it's really the guys that don't make money on it, that are older, that are paving the way for people when they're 40 in 20 years, where they can look at it and they're like, oh, you know what? That's cool that you still do it. And they don't look at it like, oh, you still do that? Isn't that a little dangerous? Yeah, well, I see people that walk up a curb and sprain their ankle or break their ankle. So I'd rather have the story that I did it doing this.
Again, it's just like, just you do you, let me do me. Like the people that say, well, you do this, why do you do this? It's like, how do you have time to worry about what I'm doing when I don't even have time to worry about what I'm doing? Do you know what I mean? It's like, just worry about what you're doing.
There's always there's always two aspects of whether there's asking and then there's questioning.
Sure.
And
yeah,
my ex and I were never married. We have 2 kids.
Right.
And I go, there are people that I meet that I've had clients for 22 years that I've known. They know my kid, or they know of my kids and everything. And there are some people that would ask the question of, hey, why aren't you married? Because they're just wondering. Then there are other people that say, why aren't you married? Well, one is, hey, I'm just wondering how come you guys never got married. Okay, we have a personal relationship. The other one is you questioning me like I'm wrong. And to that, I'm like, fuck you. Like, it's the same way with like when someone says, hey, don't you think it's a little dangerous to still be, skating at your age? And you're like, well, I could understand that if you've never rode a skateboard, but when you've done it for like 35 years, it's second nature. And they go, okay, I never really looked at it like that.
Sure.
And then the people that go, why are you skateboarding at that age? You could get hurt. Yeah, well, you know what? I can get hurt driving my fucking car too, but I still do it without a helmet.
It's like you seem like a very passionate guy about the things that you're into, right? And it's just
very.
How do you just stop? Unless you're physically incapable of skateboarding, you have to be in good shape physically to skateboard. That's just the way it is, right? If you're not capable of doing that, fine. But it's how do you fall out of love with something like that? Like, I stopped skating just because I had too many plates spinning. It's like one of these things has to go, right?
Yeah.
So, but that would be like, why do you still play guitar? It'd be like, what do you mean? Why do I still play guitar? Do you know what I mean? It's because it's part of you. It's like, why do you still dress like it's 1994? It's like, how do you want me to dress? How do you want me to cut my hair? This is the way my hair is. Like,
it's kind of funny. I mentioned this before. I mention this all the time, and I always use skateboarding because, again, other than my kids, skateboarding means the most to me. It's given me the most joy. It's given me probably the worst days of my life. Also, it's hurt me, but it's never tried to hurt me. But I've said this, and I'm assuming it's the same for musicians or anything. I go, there are people who skateboard, and then there are skateboarders. Now, neither one is better than the other. And what I mean by that is you don't have to be a great skateboarder to be a skateboarder. It just every day you're dreaming about it, you're thinking about it, you're seeing different ledges, handrails, steps, different things like that. Then there are people that are so good at skateboarding. Sometimes they suck, sometimes they're super good. They can put it down for 9 months, don't think about it at all. Then they pick up the board, they don't miss a single beat, and they enjoy doing it, but they don't have a passion. And they do it for a couple months and they just, then they vanish for another 6 months. And then there are people who aren't that good, and it's like every single day, that's all they think about. And they're never going to get to certain levels. But I'm like, that makes you a skateboarder. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like a musician. Like there are people that probably just pick up the guitar, they play it, they're super good at it, but they don't need to do it. And then there's that other person that's sitting at school, sitting at work going, I cannot wait to get home, sit down and just start fucking playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I miss the boat, I guess, where you're supposed to get old, and I mean get old in the traditional way that our parents would look, where it's like at a certain age you have to stop doing this. You're not supposed to have long hair anymore. You're not supposed to wear like rock shirts and stuff like that anymore. It's like, I don't know, man. I missed that boat, I guess. I think most of our generation missed that boat. I think we're all at the same show that day. That's probably why.
But you know the difference between having long hair as an adult and long hair as a kid is that you wash your hair. It's always presentable. Like I had a couple years ago, I just stopped cutting my hair. I went 2 years. It was 10 inches long, and then I shaved it bald again.
Sure.
And there was one manager at work, I guess, that would get aggravated. I thought it was the owner. My manager finally said, no, dude, it's this other guy. What the hell does he care? I go, it's always combed. It's always washed. If it was a rat's nest and I'm walking in and out of clients, then you have something to say. But guess what? My hair can be an inch long and not taken care of. It's like, it doesn't matter how long it is. As long as it's taken care of and it looks clean and presentable, that's all that matters. As an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old, there's days you didn't care. You threw it back in a hat and that was it. You didn't understand hair product.
Yeah. It's just the way it's the styles and the things that we kind of grew up with. I just think Gen X is a little bit more tolerant. And again, I'm kind of glad that our parents' generation is gone the way of the dodo, man, because that's some hard lessons. Like we're saying with my parents being married and not getting divorced, and man, you can't go through life like that. You live once, man. You got to go around. You got to do it the way you want to do it. Like be stuck with somebody, like brutal.
Yeah, Eric, I have to find it. I don't even know where.
Show the picture.
It's somewhere on my Instagram. I don't have it on this computer. That's something that I do know, because I took like 2 pictures of how long it was and then bald. But most people know me as being bald. I decided to start letting it grow out to be length, to be presentable, kind of like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And then it hit. I'm like, I don't want to get a haircut. And then it hit like 5 inches, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it grow.
Just keep her going. And
it went 2 years. It was 10 inches long. And then I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I was just like, it's gone. I can't deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
But I do the same thing with shaving my head. This was, again, one of those, I'm in the shower, I'm about to shave my head, and I'm like, I don't want to shave my head anymore. I equate it to Forrest Gump when he's running and running and running. And then he's like, and then one day I just didn't want to run no more. That's what happens with shaving my head.
You just gotta do what you feel is right. I know we're talking about haircuts, but I'm just like, just do what you want to do, man. Like you said at the beginning of this, as long as you're not hurting anybody, what you're doing is just do what you want to do. Right.
But yeah, it's
You're good. There we go. Get it out.
You gotta know that mute button.
Yeah.
It's the little things that you start realizing when you're doing this so long. Like, it's kind of funny because I do the same thing Chad does. I stop the video, stop the camera when I gotta get up.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't. Yeah, I'm with him. Like, No
Yeah,
one wants to
we'll be
eat.
talking, and then he's gone. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. I'm just gonna
But
continue.
he does it without even like letting anyone know that he's like he's leaving.
Yeah.
It's just like it just goes blank, mutes on, and you're like, all right, where'd you go? Yeah, that's actually yeah. I think Chad's kind of funny when he does that type of stuff. So um no, I do wear pants. Mostly.
It's all been short since
See, I got
the
pants.
pandemic, man. Yeah. All shorts all day.
I don't wear shorts. Well, I mean, I do. I wore them more this year.
Yeah.
I'm a skateboarder. Like, it's kind of funny because I hated looking down and seeing my legs.
All cut up and
And
banged up. Yeah.
well, no, I just hated seeing like legs, shoes, board. I like seeing pants, shoes,
Oh, okay.
and I have like pretty big. Well, especially back in the day, I had pretty big calves and pretty big legs
Sure.
because I was a bodybuilder that actually trained legs.
Right.
So
Okay.
they were actually pretty big and pretty strong. So I didn't have a problem like showing off my calves, but I just hated wearing shorts. I wear all year round, 100 degrees, didn't matter.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. I find there's like the two gaps of skateboarders. Like some love wearing shorts and will wear them all year round, and then other ones won't wear them at all.
Oh
Like,
man,
never.
I hated the what are they called, the shants, like the long shorts. I hated those things with the big chain wallet. Remember that look? Oh man.
I fought the chain wallet for so many years, and then I got a chain wallet, and I was like, "This thing is great. This thing is absolutely
I
awesome."
mean, it looks cool, man, but it's like, listen, dude, no one's gonna run up behind you and steal your wallet. Like the odds of that happening, and if they do, you have bigger problems because he's gonna be trying to pull you with it, right? So,
But
I know
that
it's a bad
happened
joke.
from Matt Hensley for the skateboard world.
Right.
Matt Hensley had the chain wallet, and every skateboarder had it, and that's why I resisted it because I didn't want to be like everyone else. I've always been that person. I didn't want to be like everyone else. And then when it finally started to go away, I got it. But what
Right.
was funny is that in my senior year, I would always come in late to my first class. And there was another kid that also came in late, but he had this really long chain wallet, and I had a shorter one. And one day, everyone's laughing when I came in, and like, what the hell is so funny? And they're like, "Oh, we know which one of you is walking down the hall by the sound of the chain." I'm like, "What the hell are you guys talking about?" And then I hear the other guy come walking down, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I remember having a small one, a small chain wallet, and then as I got more into like skate punk, getting the big with the shants and the button up
Yep.
shirt, just the one button here, and then having a huge chain wallet. Then it's like you're skating. It's like, well, this chain smacking against my leg is not very. I mean, it looks cool, but it's not very practical, is it?
I wore one for so long when I even got into like professional field, and I would I would just tuck it in with the back pocket. And then I finally got to like, this is stupid. Why am I tucking it in if the whole point is you're not seeing it? So,
Such your new destiny, New Balance and Jordan. That's great.
I have not bought a different pair of. I bought all Etnies S, which are the same company, skate shoes for the past 8 years.
Nice.
So, it's like, why not support like the skate companies? I'm going to eventually skate in them.
Yeah.
The sole is a Michelin sole, so it lasts for like a year or two for work and everything, not for skateboarding, but they last longer skateboarding. But yeah, man, we went all over the place today.
Dude, it's been amazing. Yeah, I have the same pair, not the same pair, but a black Chucks, man, Chuck Taylors. Since grade 8, every other year it's like high tops, then low tops, then high tops, and every other year. It's the only shoe I wear. I used to wear Visions way back in the day and Airwalks and stuff like that. But
do you remember when the low tops first came out of Chuck Taylors?
yeah, dude, that was like
It was
amazing.
like they and I only had Chuck Taylors when I was first starting to skateboard. Then I realized how
They're brutal, dude. They're
yes,
brutal. They're still brutal. They give you zero support. You might as well go barefoot. You might as well skate barefoot. It'll
yeah,
be less painful than if you wear Chucks, but they're so damn cool. And I remember seeing like, Johnny Knoxville with, he had like the blue work pants that were floods, they were just a little too
yep.
short, the big white socks with the stripes and long high top Chucks. I'm like, this dude is like a god. Like he was like the coolest dude. So I wore like high tops for a long time after seeing that.
Well, I think it's funny because you remember the Chuck Taylors, and then they came with the low tops,
Yeah.
which you're like, wow, that's really no support. You pretty much are wearing a flip flop.
Yeah.
And then they had the really super long ones, and you'd watch like the alternative kids. Most of them weren't even punk rockers, but they're the alternative kids, and you're like, how long does it take you to tie those up? Because Chuck Taylors had like you're not slipping into Chuck Taylors.
No, and that's the part that makes them suck. The high tops always cooler than the low tops, hands down, but they take you forever to get it. It's like, hurry up, the cab's here, when you're younger, the cab's here for the bar or whatever. It's like, well, I'm not hurrying anytime soon. I got these Chucks to put on.
I know. I'll say this.
Dickie pants, yes, Todd. Yes.
Yeah, no, I never had K-Swiss.
No, I never did. Yeah. Dickies, oh god, I haven't thought about that.
Dickies are like big in skateboarding now.
Dude, remember the gas station shirts?
Yeah.
I remember Billy Joe and Green Day, this concert. It was like a 95 concert. I would watch it over and over again. And he had the gas station shirt with the name, and it wasn't his name, right? It said like Daryl or something. And I was like, wow, it's so cool. I had to go out and find a gas station shirt, which I did. And then it became fashion. Do you remember the hats?
Oh yeah,
with the gas station logo and stuff like that.
There's so much that comes. There's so much fashion that came from skateboarding.
Oh, dude,
baggy pants, the cutoff jeans. Like I remember getting in an argument in 8th grade when someone called my GNS plaid pants skids, and I'm like, they're not fucking skids.
Yeah,
and they're like, yeah, they are. And they're like, oh. He's like, oh, so they're fake skids? I'm like, fuck you, I had these before. I was so mad about it because like I was wearing these red GNS plaid pants well before skids came out, and then they got popular, and then people were saying that that you have imitation ones, and I was I was so pissed.
I remember that, dude. There you go. We gotta go back in time.
Oh man.
The question is, if you could go back in time, would you go back in time to the 80s or to the 90s? You can only pick one decade. What would it be? Dude, like who could pick
90s. I would go 90s. I would go 90s for skateboarding.
I would do 90s all day long.
Because
all day long.
They were at a point where I talk about this all the time. People call them new school skateboards, but it's like the new school skateboards have been around longer than the original shaped boards were from when new school came in.
Yeah.
And that's where skateboarding was taking off. I had the most fun then. Where 80s music and toys, but like I said, to me, skateboarding is everything. Like that. If you said, hey, you could have skateboarding or your toys, like I picked skateboarding. It wouldn't even be an option. Like if you said you could have one memory.
Yeah.
It'd be all skateboarding.
Everybody in the chat says 80s. Everybody. Except us. We say the 90s. You guys are wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking music. If you're talking music, I mean, I love the punk in the 90s, but all the radio station music was awful.
But I liked it all, man. I liked it.
But what you're saying about shoes,
yeah,
I always wore high top shoes because you thought they had support. And I remember when the mid highs came into skateboarding, and I kind of resisted them.
Yeah.
And then you finally gave into the the mids, and then they slowly became just low tops without noticing. Yeah. I've never wore a pair of high tops since then. I see high tops and I'm like, oh my God, especially when I see people skating in them. I'm like, oh, those are so ugly.
There was a time period when they were the cat's pajamas. Do you remember Marty's high top Nikes that laced themselves up from Back to the Future 2.
Yes.
Like, dude, those were like the Airwalks I used to have were like big like that. And I remember, or like my first pair of like Air Jordans, the ones of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air with the reflective tongue and stuff like that. Those were high tops. And then people started getting those like giant Reebok high tops. They look like they were tanks on your feet. I'm like, dude, how are you gonna do a kickflip with that thing? It's like a brick.
I
It's
had
like a brick
Reebok
on the foot.
pumps.
Oh, the pumps too. You had those?
Yes. Yeah, not the first one where you actually had the pump and they pumped the whole thing up. These ones just pump. They had the ball on the front. They just pumped up the
Those were hilarious.
tongue. They were so awesome.
You remember that? It's like I loved basketball so much back then. So it's like I'm short, dude. I'm like 5'7", right? So I was like, oh man, I'll get this. It'll give me like a couple of inches, and maybe I'll be able to touch the rim, which of course crap.
I had 2 pairs of Air Jordans in 7th and 8th grade. Actually, in 8th grade, it was the Air Jordan 3, I think. The only 3 people in school that had them were me, the gym teacher, who was a college basketball player.
Wow.
And then this guy, Zoran, who, just to explain how rich he was, his senior year, he drove a Dodge Viper. His parents were rich. We were the only 3 people that had them. Why did I have Air Jordans? I rode a skateboard. I didn't care about basketball. But because I had them and the school was right behind my house and that's where we would skate every day, and the gym teacher hated skateboarders, because I had those, he actually didn't bother us because we had this connection.
The status.
Of the Air Jordan. Of the Air Jordan.
Dude, they were those things I think back then were like $200. And there's no way I would skate in them because you would grind the side off with the grip tape, right? It's like I couldn't do it. Those shoes to me were like beautiful. So I wore those when I played basketball, but I had different shoes for skating.
Well, I didn't skate into them to where they were like at the end of them.
Oh yeah.
When I look back, actually I take it back. They were the Air Jordan. They had to be the 4s. They were the ones that had the first time they had the clear sole on the bottom where you could see a silhouette. And I just remember like I don't know why I want, but they were so comfortable. They were so comfortable. But for $130 back in '89, they better be fucking comfortable.
So I have this thing with shoes where I really like shoes, but I don't like buying them because I don't want to wear them. So Vans did a limited edition Foo Fighters shoe maybe like 5 years ago, and I bought it, and they're in the closet in my bedroom because I won't wear them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like same with the Jordans. I hardly wore them because I'm like, I don't want to wear them out. So I don't know.
Guys,
that's probably why I just wear Chucks, right? It's just like I know what I'm getting at with the Chucks. And
Shark Eyes is a huge shoe collector.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, huge shoe collector.
I get it. I get it. I just
it's one of those things I don't get, and I'll be like, why do you collect shoes? And then I'm like, I have no room to talk. But why do you like? But I am always fascinated. Like when I talk to collectors to collect things that I don't collect, I'm like, what? You know, like why do you collect shoes? Like, what is it? I mean, it to me, it's like I want to know why someone collects something. Not like I'm not questioning them. Yeah. I'm just like, what is it that makes you? What makes you want to collect shoes? I want to know what makes your mind say, I need those. You know, I'm not questioning because I'm buying fucking action figures like they're never going to be made again.
You're buying your third rock and roll from a third line this year. Right? You're like, how many rock and rolls? And I know you love rock and roll. I know you do. It's like how many rock and rolls? I mean, that's like me with Falcon, right? It's like, God, do I need it? Do I need another Falcon? I guess. Or Storm Shadow. They don't make that many Falcons, but do I need another Storm Shadow figure? The answer is of course I do. Of course I do.
You can always use another Storm Shadow. We know we can always use another Snake Eyes.
No more Snake Eyes. No more Snake Eyes. No more Cobra Commanders. Stop it. Stop the madness.
There's only 3. Well, there's only been 3 Cobra Commanders.
That's
far
too many.
I mean,
we won't get a hood. I'm not getting into that, but we won't get a hood Cobra Commander. Enough.
Well, we will be getting the classic one soon. Again, other than the one in the HasLab. There is another one coming, though they haven't really announced it.
Allison's comment there. If you love the character, you can always use another. I must confess, that is me with Luke Skywalker. I am a sucker for Return of the Jedi Luke. And every single one I see, regardless, like there he's on my arm, like every single Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker, it's like, I'll buy it.
But that's
So, did you buy that 2 years ago? Yep. Need another one. It kind of looks closer to Mark Hamill than the last one did. I gotta have that one.
Well, that's what Dan Larson says about Boba Fett's.
Yeah, he loves
Like,
Boba Fett.
He can't walk by one if he doesn't have it and not buy it.
He is
he's even ripping on himself about it.
Does he call it the Boba set? Or I think he has like 500 of them or something, or that was his goal. I haven't watched him in a while, but
he just has a lot. And I know I was watching once when he's like, yeah, it's $27. They're ripping me off. Am I buying it? Yes.
Yep.
Like, am I leaving Target with it? Yes, I am.
There you go. She has a Leia Organa collection. That's great.
Well, okay, so Allison collects all female figures.
That's really good.
She is like, as soon as a female figure comes out, and right now she's loving all these G.I. Joe females. She keeps posting all her collection, so
right,
which is cool. I mean, I think it's really cool that here she is, like, as a female, obviously seeing like, hey, you know what? There's these female figures, but she's not like, I only collect female figures. But
no, it's cool. You have that connection with the character, obviously, right? And that's important to you, and only you know why, and that's all that matters, right? That's like me with Luke. That's you with who's your guy, Punk? Who's your main dude? Like who's your?
I don't think I have one.
You don't have one.
No,
is it? I know it's Rob Roscop, isn't it? I haven't said that name since
Rob Roscop. Those were awesome graphics. Those were awesome graphics. And I think he's actually still involved with Santa Cruz.
I believe it. Oh, who did I see the other day who was looking rough? Was it Caballero? I think it was Steve Caballero. I can't remember. Someone who was looking really rough.
No, I don't think Caballero looks rough.
It's not Cab. I don't know who it was. Maybe it wasn't Hosoi. I don't know who it was.
Eric Dressen, he looks rough.
Maybe. And hey, I'm not shaming. I'm just saying, you know.
No, there's a few guys that you went.
Some of them partied a little too hard, if you know what I'm
saying. That is very, very true. Yeah.
You have 27 shipwrecks.
Yeah.
Is that true?
There's so many shipwrecks. No. Did I ever tell you? Did I tell you the shipwreck? Did I ever tell you the aircraft carrier story? Everyone pretty much knows it.
What, the flag?
Yeah, like
no.
Okay, no. So I always make the joke about my flag, right? My childhood flag. So it was Christmas morning, and if you remember how G.I. Joes, if your parents put them together, like bubble to bubble, they could wrap it in a nice little rectangle. But you already knew you were getting two figures, whether it be Star Wars, G.I. Joe, whatever, right?
You could feel the edge, yeah.
So it's Christmas. Boom, I pick it up. I know it's two figures, right? I open it up. It's two shipwrecks. Now, I already have shipwreck, and I don't like shipwreck. But now I'm like, oh, okay, great. I have 3 shipwrecks. Why? I grab the next one. Again, you know these are the G.I. Joes. I pick them up. Boom, I open it up. 2 more shipwrecks.
What?
So now I have 4 brand new shipwrecks. I have 4 brand new shipwrecks, and I have 1, and I don't even like shipwreck. Grab the next one. Boom. Now I have 6 shipwrecks. I grab the next one, open it up. 2 more shipwrecks. I'm looking at 8 shipwrecks.
Dude, that's wild.
I have 1. I don't even like this figure. I look up. If looks could kill, the eyes my mom was giving my dad, she would have fucking blown his head off like Superman getting pissed off, right? And then my dad kind of disappeared. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, thanks, guys. Like, I'm like so disappointed. And then my mom's like, hey, why don't we go downstairs? Go downstairs, and there's the flag.
Wow.
My dad was a sailor. He bought the aircraft carrier because he was a sailor in the Navy. Well, your Navy, I mean, your aircraft carrier has to have sailors.
You need a crew.
So now it made sense. My mom was so mad because she figured I was going to figure it out. And I was like...
Instead, you were like, wait a minute.
Why do I have all these stupid sailors?
That's not Snake Eyes with the Wolf. Who's this?
And what's kind of funny is I still have 8 shipwrecks. Seven of them are the original.
Wow.
I do not have one complete.
Well, you know what, dude? That's a fantastic story. That's a great story.
Again,
I love it. That's great.
It's funny because you look back at it now and it's like,
and your dad went to those lengths,
yes,
right, to share a part of his life with you in a way that would relate to you through the toys, right? It's awesome.
And so this year, for Father's Day, I got him the classified shipwreck.
Oh, dude, that's so
and
cool.
My dad collects John Wayne stuff,
right?
Huge John Wayne, but he also likes Navy stuff. So I found one. You know, I'm like, boom. Then I did a little short, and I'm like, you know what? It's payback. And I gotta say this: I gave it to him, and like, my dad doesn't collect toys. He doesn't give a shit about that stuff.
Right.
I'm watching him like take it all out. And he's like putting, because it has the different hair pieces, it has the hairpiece or the sailor cap. Yeah. And he's putting it on it. And he goes and gets a baggie for all like the accessories. I'm like, no, Dad, they all go on. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, I'm just kind of watching my dad play with a toy. And I'm just like, this is so surreal. Because he never had.
That's like, so cool, man.
You know, like my dad was weird because he never hated me skateboarding. He hated that that's all that I did, that I didn't do anything else. He just wanted me to experience other things. But my dad didn't watch sports. So there wasn't like a connection for me to sit down with him and watch sports. And even now, like he watches baseball. He doesn't care about anything else. But it's like, how would I fall in love with anything else, Dad? Like you didn't do it. Like you didn't watch any sports. Why would I like sports, you know? But yeah, but the whole, like, he went out of his way. He always did all the stuff in the G.I. Joe because he knew that's what I liked. In a minute, buddy.
That's a really cool story, man.
So
that's fantastic. Yeah. Good on you, Dad. Good on you.
Rachel says, almost the same story. My dad was in the Navy, and I got a flag for Christmas. I didn't get 8 shipwrecks, though.
Wow.
I don't want to say your dad didn't love you as much as my dad loved me.
You guys and your flags. I'm so jealous. I wasn't one of the kids who had the flag, but I knew someone like Lawrence who had the flag. I knew this kid who had a flag, brand new, but we were in 8th grade, little too old to play with it. It was in his basement, dude. It was pristine. And I remember I asked him to buy it. Where was I going to get money? And of course, you know, his parents, you're not selling the flag. But I knew someone who had it. That's why when I got mine in 2020, it was like, that was my, you know, fixer-upper car. You know, people buy an old like car. And that was mine. Mine's 96%. I'm missing like 5 things, I think. But
so another funny story about the flag is, you know how all those kids. Oh, I have the flag, but it's at my grandparents' house. That's always the story of kids that have it, but
they just lying to you.
But it's at my grandparents' house, right? Because they're lying about it.
Yeah.
Funny story is, I lived in condos, and in the court, there were these grandparents that the kid, he was a little bit older than me. They had to keep it at their house because they didn't have it. Because my dad's like, yeah, you realize like there's another flag in the court. I'm like, what? Because I didn't know the kid because he didn't live around us.
Right.
And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, Faye and Al, they have their grandson's flag in there. So there's actually some kid at school telling, oh, I have the flag, but it's at my grandparents. And everyone's going, yeah, sure you do. And he actually wasn't lying about it.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually in my court. But I think he's probably the only person that could do that.
I mean, the thing really is ridiculous. And I look at mine every day in my toy room, and I still like, I just look at it and I always put my hand on it. I'm just like, this thing is just like, it's amazing. I love it. It's the best toy of all time. I'll argue that with anyone until I'm blue in the face.
Yeah, it's funny because I always correct people when they say it's 7 feet long. I know it's 7.5 feet.
7.5 feet, man.
And they're like, "Oh, what's a mat?" I'm like, that means a lot. But it's not just that
Half
it's
inches, am I right? And every inch counts there, buddy.
it's not just 7.5 feet long. It's
Yeah.
wide and
Yeah.
high. And if you've raised, did you raise yours at all? Like, did you raise? Like, I raised mine 6 inches.
Oh no, I don't have no. It's just
So
it's just on a table. No, I haven't done the where you
yeah,
can put like the whale under it and stuff. No, I haven't done
yeah. So and I put lights on it. I did like a whole video because I wanted to figure out how to raise it. And people would show you there's raised, but no one ever showed you how to do it. And it's very simple. All you got to do is trace the brackets, take the deck off, put it down, trace it, cut the wood how you want it. But it's funny because people don't realize how big it actually is. And when people talk about a classified, I know a lot of people are joking. And I would always say to people, I think most people that say they want a classified flag, or even an O-ring modern version flag, I don't think they realize how big it is. I don't think they've ever really been by one. And I've had people get like, "Oh yeah, I've never seen one." I'm like, "Have you?" Because it's huge. It's not just long; it's super wide, and it's really tall
and extremely fragile, like glass fragile.
That's why you don't move it.
Well, that's what I mean, right? Only people who have been around it can understand this. So when people are like, "Oh, I got one, but it's at my grandparents," like, first of all, no, it's not, because you can't move it. So anyone who was a kid, anyone in the chat that had the flag, you are the coolest people ever. Because first of all, your parents let you have a 7.5 foot long toy, probably in your room. And man, you got to go to sleep every night knowing that you had the flag, man. The flag. That's like, everyone often puts Eternia in that realm. Eternia, not even in the same ballpark, man. Eternia is pretty cool. Not even the same thing. Not even close. Not even close.
No, and when you guys did your, greatest, the greatest
what we do, play sets, the tournament?
play sets, and you just left it off.
Right? The flag, yeah.
Because it's like, I mean,
yeah.
I know people will argue, but it's like, no, you just leave it off, because nothing is ever gonna amount to it. Because you also got to go back to the time. I tell people, like, listen, like when it comes to skateboard videos, I'm like, I understand there are better skateboard videos than some of the ones that came out in the early 90s, but you have to understand the progression that was happening in the early 90s when they were doing these tricks. They had pushed skateboarding where if you put in some of these videos now, you'd be like, oh, this is a pretty good video. Not great.
Yeah.
But you're also talking 30 years old. When you look at that flag, you're like, they took this gamble to just create this thing. I wish it was on mine was always on a door, so I could just move it around. My dad put it on an old door, so I could just move it around. But if you had it like on the concrete, good luck.
Good luck, yeah. I got a good fun story. Right before the pandemic hit, which I think was like the second week of March 2020, I was on a show with Larry Hama, and Larry and I were talking about the flag. And he was kind of saying to everybody, he's just like, think about if that was pitched today anywhere. What a ludicrous idea this was. A 7.5 foot toy for a 3-inch toy line that you can't move. Who's going to buy this thing? But Hasbro threw millions of dollars at the designers to make this thing. Like, what a glorious time it was to be alive in the 80s if you were a kid. You will never see anything close to that. That's why, and dude, I don't know how you feel about the 6-inch. To me, Joe will always be a 3-inch line because you need those vehicles. You need them.
Well, I love the 6-inch line. I mean, but again, there's room for both, as far as I'm concerned.
Let me elaborate. My problem with the 6-inch line is that I'm looking through them through a child's eye. And I shouldn't. I should look them as, here's Shipwreck. He's highly articulated. Look how cool he is. But for me up here, through the kid's eye, I'm like, well, if they're going to make Wild Weasel, I want the Rattler. Why am I going to get the Rattler? Well, because it's not the 80s anymore. So I don't really blame Hasbro too much. It's just me personally. That's what I want. Do you know what I mean? And I know we're never going to get that again. We're never going to have the 80s again. And I should just finish off the Real American Hero line, right? Because we still have that to collect. So,
See, I don't look at the classified as like how do kids look at it. I look at it as adult collectibles.
yeah.
Now again, one of the reasons why I still collect the 4-inch figures is because it takes me back to that place of being a kid. Even the modern figures.
Sure.
I don't have a problem mixing the modern 4-inch figure with the O-ring figures. Like, it doesn't bother me. I know it bothers a lot of people. That doesn't bother me. Though I could not take a 7-inch figure and mix it with the 6-inch classified because the scale is just way too out of scale.
Yeah.
But like all the modern 4-inch, even though, obviously thinner and sleeker than the O-rings, and some of them had big heads. The females were always ugly for some reason and had giant heads. But I look at those as through the child's eyes.
Sure.
It's
kind of like with the whole scale for me. And again, dude, there's no right or wrong answer. For me, it's just, if you look at Star Wars, like the Millennium Falcon, everyone says it's also a character, which I kind of agree with, right?
I would agree.
It's like, you're just sad because it's like, man, some of these Black Series look so great. Man, wouldn't it be awesome to have a Falcon? But I mean, that kind of stuff's never going to happen, right? So a part of that is me just having to let go.
Yes.
And just know that 6-inch is the way it is, and we're not going to get vehicles. That time has passed. That's just the way it is. And we still have, like, if you're a Star Wars collector, man, 2000 to 2010 was like the best time. They brought out everything, right?
Yeah.
That you could ever want. So,
well, the whole 95, the Power of the Force, they redid so much stuff.
Yeah, we
had a lot of that stuff.
We literally got every vehicle, every alien, everything. So, I mean, and that stuff's pretty cheap still. You could still get it at a reasonable price. So,
yeah, I think there is that changing of the adult collector, but I don't want to say the O-ring time. I don't want to say the O-ring time has come and gone. I still think there's a place for it if people want it. I don't understand why there's such a faction, why people have to fight about it. I've said before, I would love to have the classified Cobra, the Cobra Infantry Trooper in O-ring form with that different mask and everything. I'm like, that would look so sweet.
Without the dopey look, the original 82s, they all look pretty dopey, right? So
yeah.
Classified, they look like their brows are off. Like,
and I would love to see them do something like that. I've been saying that for quite some time.
Yeah,
they're not going to do it. There's reasons for it, and
well, it's outdated. And Todd says it'll come back in 10 years. I agree with you, Lawrence, where it's outdated, right? Obviously, that was from, I think Mego was the ones who designed that originally with the O-ring, I believe. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But that style, you want to talk to anybody about O-rings, talk to Carson, who is the master of G.I. Joe collecting, okay? He calls O-rings mint on card. He calls them ticking time bombs.
Do you know
why? Do you know why? Because at some point, every single one is going to dry rot.
Yep.
You can't stop that, man.
Nope.
So you're going to have an 82 grunt mint on card eventually that will be in half. You can't do anything about that. All you can do is open it and then, put another O-ring in, but then it's not mint on card.
You've devalued it. Yeah.
So I if I'm going to collect, I have a few Real American Heroes on card, but I have no interest in going back to O-rings is my point. I saw a few of them come out over the years and I wasn't impressed. I think, that time is past for that.
I agree. I agree. I think that there is a place for it, but
I see you have a few on your shelf there. I see you have like 3 packs there. Those are the
I bought all the 2-packs.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of enjoyed them, but I still looked at the originals and I'm like, the originals look better. Their hands are
There's
better.
something about, I saw Duke and Cobra Commander, and there's something about the paint job on Duke specifically. It was
Duke
really,
is awful. Cobra Commander is actually really nice. Duke is just
he's like orange. The one I saw, he was like, his skin was like orange. It was just weird.
his eyes are all messed up. And,
It was off. Yeah, it was just not. It was not very good.
There was a lot that they could do instead of giving the exact same thing, but
yeah,
I mean, people don't like to hear budgetary reasons because they're like $1 billion company, but again, $1 billion company, not a $1 billion brand, and they have a budget.
Yeah.
That's how corporations are run, whether people like it or not. It doesn't mean they couldn't throw more in there, but again, that's how it goes. And I've talked to Lenny about it, like, specifically where it's like, there's a budget, and basically the person that wanted, he didn't say this, I've heard this from other people, the person that wanted the O-rings left the brand. So now there was no big push for the O-ring. So there was no big push to have that budget.
But do we really want it, or is that the nostalgia addiction coming into play?
I think it's a nostalgia addiction.
Because I agree, because those figures are all going to rot. And are they any better? Are they any put together any better than the 25ths, where they're essentially a small scale?
They're made better with the PVC, but the thumbs are thicker, so they don't hold the weapons as well.
Right.
The crotches are thicker. The O-ring is, I guess, I forget what grade he said it was, but it's made so in 20 years they won't break. But who cares if it's open? I have O-rings all over the place. I'll buy more O-rings. It's not like they're expensive. We all know how to undo the screw. It doesn't take any time.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of these Kickstarters for the O-rings, but you notice they all hit around the same. I think it's the same people backing it over and over and over. Where when it comes to the 6-inch classified, whether people like it or people want to admit it or not, you have this whole new, you have people that collected the O-rings that are like, oh my God, awesome, something new for me. And then you do have 6-inch collectors, but there's a lot of Joe collectors that are coming in going, this is what I want. I'm older now. My eyes can see this. I love the detail. And yes, Chad is right. Like, you can get really good detail from 4-inch figures. We've seen it, we see it in a lot of stuff.
Of course.
But when it comes to the classified, the detail is easier to see. It's easier to get done. And again, they can make a big profit off of it. And it's killing. I mean, the line is killing it. It by far is the best line going right now when it comes to adult collectibles.
It's not bad. My problem, I just want to answer Matthew real quick here. Yeah, it's a live stream, buddy, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Yeah, we're doing the best console of the 90s. It's not a produced video. No, it's a live stream I'm doing instead of the game stream. You think what NES, Super Nintendo, 64? Dude, those are all amazing. 100%. It's going to be a fun topic. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask the chat this too. People talk about alcohol addiction, drug addiction, how dangerous it is. I've often said that nostalgia should be up there too, because it's really ruined a lot of our pop culture. Everyone's losing their minds about what is the Ghostbuster one in the snow that they just dropped the trailer for. Everyone is, oh my God, Bill Murray again. It's like, dude, do you really want to see a 90-year-old Bill Murray? And I'm not shaming anyone for their age, but it's just like, why can we not move on from this? Why can we not move on from this? Why can we not progress? Why can Real American Hero not get past Shipwreck and Grunt and Tunnel Rat? Why can we not have the 10 years of Hama stuff from 2011 to 2022? We can't. I don't get it, dude. Maybe someone can answer it for me, but we're stuck. Like, they're making a new Beverly Hills Cop. Axel's like 55,000 years old. It's like, can we not get new stuff, new IPs, new ideas? Like, our generation, Lawrence, as much as we've just talked about how great it is, seems to be fundamentally stuck in the past?
Because I think because such amazing properties came out during that time that you don't want to see it get destroyed doing something new.
I know money is to be made, so saying this is stupid, but I'm going to say it anyway. Why can't we just leave them alone? I understand
Yeah.
why, right? But it's like I haven't seen the new Ghostbusters. I'm aware of what happens. Listen to me, okay? That first movie was lightning in a bottle, okay? And it was four comedians that all riffed off each other, and it worked. Okay. I don't want to see a ghost Egon guiding the proton pack with his nephew or whatever it is. Like it's so embarrassing to me to see stuff like that. And people are just eating it up. They're like, oh my God, I just need another glimpse of Bill Murray. It's like, why?
It was done right.
Oh, I can't subscribe
So,
to
okay.
it. I can't do it.
Okay. So
Can't do it.
this is okay. So I'm going to. This is. I think this should explain it. Have you watched Cobra Kai?
I can't.
Okay.
I cannot do it.
So you need to
Can't
watch
do it.
Cobra Kai. So
I did not. No, you'll find, dude. I'm aware of these things, and I know what happens, but I can't put myself through it.
It's not about what happens.
Sure.
Let me explain. So here's why Cobra Kai works, and why some other properties work. So they decided to do Cobra Kai, and rather than just coming in and bringing in all new characters and be like, hey, this is Daniel's son and this is, Johnny's son.
Yeah.
They make Daniel and Johnny both integral characters. But while they're doing it, they're also introducing their children who have their own stories and plots. But they're able to keep you captivated. They're able to keep you captivated by telling you how these characters that we either loved or hated from the Karate Kid movies, how they have been throughout the next few years. But in between that, they're doing stories about their kids. So at the same time, when you're learning about their kids, or we're learning about where they came from, you're also learning about their kids, and they're creating their own story. So you get to the point where it's like, okay, I now care about the kids and the new characters, along with still finding out what happened and how they're integrating into it. Where a lot of times they just come in and they want to change everything, or they just want it to be, we're just going to take those characters, we're not going to develop new characters. This is why when you look at The Force Awakens.
Oh boy, here we go.
No. Listen, everything that I had heard, and this is what they said was, we kept trying to introduce Luke, and every time Luke came in, he took over the film. And all I remember is thinking is going, yes, that's what we wanted. And you know how we know that? Because we watched the end of The Mandalorian, and I remember watching that X-Wing land, and I see this green lightsaber, and I see and I'm like, no, no way. I'm like freaking out over it. Even though I know that this is Luke, the whole time I'm like, there's no way they're doing this. This is going to be someone else. They're going to throw a swerve. They gave us what we wanted.
Okay, so Cobra Kai, that makes sense. Again, I haven't seen it. I'm gonna go back to Ghostbusters in a second, but Mandalorian, within the story, that moment made sense. We knew Grogu was reaching out to someone. Everyone's like, it's going to be Ezra. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Ahsoka? No, it was Luke. Great. Luke came. He should have taken Grogu. Goodbye. That's it.
I agree with that.
There should have been no Luke and Boba Fett or any of that stuff. Grogu should be off the show. From a story standpoint, perfection. I think Favreau and Filoni were giving us Luke the way we wanted him. We didn't want to see Luke, the broken old man that we got. So I
Exactly.
think those guys were kind of like, okay, we're trying to steer the ship. We're trying to correct the mistakes. That's what I think. Ghostbusters, correct me if I'm wrong. The new cast, the kids, they go through all the trials and tribulations. And then at the end, the old timers just come in and undo everything that they've done. Is that not what happened? So that's the kind of problem I have with this nostalgia.
No, I don't think they did. I only
Well,
wa-
she
I,
couldn't do it on her own, right? Egon had to like help her. So it's like everything that they did,
well,
and it didn't matter because
so
the three old timers just showed up and beat
so
the
so
top.
throughout the movie,
Yeah.
Egon, his ghost, is the one that is leading her to where she needs to be. So it makes sense. It also makes sense
Dude,
from the fact that he wanted to do this movie for so long. He was the one. Bill Murray was the one that wouldn't do the movie.
Bill Murray wasn't interested in the second one, and that's apparent in the fact that he wouldn't even wear the damn jumpsuit, man. He's like, I'll show up, I'll take your like 20 mil, but I'm not sure. Bill, whatever you say, you got me for 5 hours a day, and that's it. Okay, you don't even need the jumpsuit, Bill. I mean, his performance in 2, you can tell he's just phoning it in, right? And dude, hey, listen, I'm not peeing on anybody's parade
No, I
at all.
understand.
This is just my point of view. Like Batman, like the Michael Keaton Batman being in the Flash movie, the same thing. It's nostalgia bug. Why we got another Matrix?
But
Why
see,
we keep
that's
doing all this?
that's where it didn't work because they were trying to use that to get you to go see the movie, and that's fine. But they should have been using it to make a better movie. I'm not gonna lie, I actually liked Ezra Miller's portrayal in the Flash because I liked the older Flash that was like, oh my god, I am fucking annoying as shit.
Yeah.
Like I thought they did a really good job of him realizing how
But
annoying he was. It was just a bad movie.
the marketing for that was all around Keaton, which was
Yes.
really suspect to me. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I have not seen it, but I heard that he says the line. Doesn't he say, like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Does he say that in the movie?
Yeah,
I feel like you're on the stand now. Did he say that? You tell the court right now. Did he say that? Remember, you're
yeah.
under oath.
They show that in the commercial, and
Dude, it's embarrassing.
it's forced. And I agree.
So
Like,
embarrassing.
so, like that
So
line was just it fit.
we
In the,
can
in
say,
the movie.
dudes like me are complaining that we don't get new stuff often enough, but dudes like me and you are going to see this stuff. We're spending money, and therefore they're seeing, hey, these guys just want the same stuff, and that's what we're getting. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from you and Ghostbusters, man. You feel how you feel. I'm just saying what I call it as I see it.
No, again, like you're allowed to have, you're allowed to have your opinion, and I think that we discussed that.
But I would almost rather see just that next gen of Ghostbusters, the kids or whatever, and you could go so far as to have Ray on the phone, but they don't
Yeah,
need to show up at the end or have Venkman like be a failed whatever, like a cameo or something. But you don't need them to be the savior. The only reason those three are there is so us like men and women in their 40s can be like, oh my god, and cry and get all upset and stuff like that. And
but it also, I only saw the movie once. I'm not like a huge Ghostbusters fan. So I'm not probably the best person to talk about this, but I really thought that it worked because they didn't shoehorn them in. They did what we wanted Luke Skywalker. We wanted Luke Skywalker at the end, like while Rey was fighting Kylo Ren. We wanted to see Luke show up and save her ass, and then take her on to train her. Not show up at the end, throw the lightsaber away.
well, that was the beginning of
it.
8. The end of 7 was very emotional and brilliant. The end of Force Awakens, I think, was so beautiful. And we talked about this on the show, remember? And then the beginning of 8, it's all lit different because it's not gray. It's a sunny day, and somehow they didn't fix that in post, but that's neither here nor there. And then all of a sudden he's acting like John Ritter and being all zany and throwing the lightsaber around. It's like, wait a minute.
He's Jack
Wait a
Tripper.
minute. What is going on here?
No, I mean, I just like I
That's
said,
fine. I mean, it's the sequels are they are what they are, and they're part of history now, and that's just the way it is, and it's unfortunate. That's all.
But I am with you. Like, I don't want to see them constantly reboot stuff. I mean, if there's a story to be told, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
If I always say this about. I'm gonna go down a bad road, man, here, but I always say this about when someone shoehorns a gay couple into a movie or into a TV show. I don't care if the characters are gay or straight. Does it progress the story?
Mm.
That's what I ask. Whether, again, like they wanted to put a gay character in Star Wars. Why? The only two relationships that matter in Star Wars are Han and Leia and Anakin and Padme. Those are the only two ones. I don't care. Like, those are the only ones that really matter, And it's kind of like, I don't need you to shoehorn anything in. Not politics, not sexuality, unless it progresses the story. And I think people have a hard time doing that. They think, okay, we got to put this in here because this is our social climate today. No. How does it progress it? Because you don't have to have a straight couple either.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. I don't have much to say on that subject. I just wish studios, writers, etc. would just write from the heart, right? They just write from the heart, and yeah, someone in the chat said something about pandering. Pandering never works. Yeah, everyone's trying to people please everybody instead of just making their vision the way they want to do it, regardless of whatever. That's all I'll say about that. Yeah. Lilith, what's going on? Hey, you're over here. What are you saying?
Lily pops in to the stream. I think I finally hammered enough in your stream that they were like, God, this guy have a channel.
We're always plugging each other. It's the way to go, man.
No, I agree. I'm with you 100%. I always tell people, listen, don't come in and plug your channel on anyone else's show, because no one shows up to hear someone else plugging your show.
Yeah. If
the hosts like you, they will talk about your show. They will tell everyone to go check out this person, just like I do when you show up on mine. Yeah,
absolutely.
If you started showing up and going, hey, check out my show tomorrow, I'd be like, you know what, Matthew, fucking block that motherfucker.
Destroy him.
Well, I got 3 hours and 22 minutes out of you. And I do have to work in the morning. You have a stream like soon.
I got to stream in like 5 minutes. So.
I love it. You like Mega J now, just always streaming.
Yeah, I just life on display, right? Just hit live and just 24-hour stream. There you
go. Dude, okay. The new Top Gun was not good. It was great.
Never saw it, but I've never seen the original, so there you go.
No, I can't say nothing.
I know your weakness, my friend, and I won't say it on stream. I know.
No. Everyone knows that I've never seen any of the Indiana Jones.
You haven't watched it still?
No, I have no interest in it.
Oh my God, this is crazy, man. This is crazy town.
But I'll tell you what,
this channel is crazy town. I'm telling you right now.
But I'll tell you what, I have on more than one occasion popped in Top Gun 2.
There you
Since
go.
It's come out on. I'll sit down and I pull up my TV and looking at the apps, and I'm like, I gotta watch it, man. I gotta watch the final scene. I gotta see when Maverick gets in another F-14.
And what happens? Goose's kid dies this time again. It's like
he doesn't die. They can't kill off his kid too.
Why not? Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. Hey, that stuff worked in '86, right? Let's do it again.
Top Gun 2 worked so well. It was so.
I'm poking. I'm teasing. I'm just teasing.
No. I'm just saying, like that is the one movie that you looked at, one of the movies that you looked at, and you're like, how can you make a sequel to something from 1986 and make it good? And you looked at it and you went, okay, if you never saw Top Gun, you could watch Top Gun 2 and be like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like there's enough things that go back to it that you can that it could be another movie, and they're just pointing back to, oh well, this something must have happened in the past. You don't really need to know anything that's going on. They fill you in on anything that would have happened that if you didn't see the movie. Again, if you have TBS, I'm pretty sure, I don't know how you've missed it, but
I just, it's weird. I'm a Joe guy and I love the Sky Striker too. So you figure I'd be all over that, but I was just never into it. I will say, I got to give props to Tom Cruise as an actor. I mean, that dude does all his own stunts. That's crazy.
Dude.
Like everything. Like he's one in a million, that guy. Like he's
listen, you can say what you want about him. He makes good movies.
No, I don't care.
I know someone's going to say he made this and for the most part, he makes good movies.
I think he's great.
You say what you want about the Mission Impossibles, they are good.
They're solid. Fun. They're solid, right? Risky Business, man. He did all his own stunts in Risky Business. That air guitar, he did all of that himself.
He Velcroed himself to the side of a plane.
Have I seen Iron Eagle? No, I haven't. That's Lou.
Whoa, you've never seen Iron Eagle?
Gossip Phillips. I always get him and Lou Diamond Phillips. You got Jr.? I forget. Whoever it is. No, I haven't seen that. Outsiders, man. Yeah, I did all his own stunts in Outsiders.
Iron Eagle is just funny to watch because it's so bad. Like, really, you literally, not only did you steal a fucking Air Force airplane, you were somehow able to get it refueled in the air while flying over to Iran, I think it was.
Listen, I'm getting chirped at. Jay, not a child of the 80s.
Hey, this is what happens. Listen, I get the shit all the time because when I start telling them the movies that I haven't seen, they're like, "You got to be kidding me!" I'm like you guys were shocked when I said I'd never seen Indiana Jones.
I mean, that's on another level, though, dude. That's like George Lucas, right? That's like, I mean, Top Gun is up here, but that's like, I would put Indiana Jones with like Ghostbusters and Back to the Future. People who say they've never seen either of those, like that's in this space, right? It's strange.
You were like, he's got to be kidding. And Matthew was there. And Matthew's like, no, he's not. He's like,
you're unsubscribing. Oh no. Yeah, I mean,
it's not like I have some like something against it. It's just like I've never sat down to watch it.
And that makes it even weirder. Like if you were to say, you know what, I can't stand Harrison Ford, and I don't want to see Harrison Ford run around in a fedora with a little whip. I don't want to see it. He doesn't even do all his own stunts like Tom Cruise. So if you were to say that, I would get it. But it's just like, you know what? I just haven't done it. It's
no, but I watch all the Tom Cruise movies, him and his one tooth in the middle.
Yeah, look, you watch Raiders, I'll watch Top Gun. That's the deal. That's the deal.
Maybe. We'll figure out something. I don't even know why I don't. It's not that I don't even want to watch it. I just don't want to invest my time into it. Although I've been like binge watching Kim's Convenience for the past week or so on Netflix. Yeah. Dude, like, hey. There you go. That's a stream. Top Gun versus Raiders. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. It's 3.5 hours. Someone's starting to whine. Thank you so much for being on. I really do appreciate it. Tell everyone where they can find you if they haven't already.
Yeah, I am also right next door to this guy on YouTube. My name is Jay Bartlett. That's it. I do toy and video game content, and I would love to have you guys come on over and check it out. Thank you very much. Hey, dude, thanks so much for having me. Big fan of your show and your channel. I like you're very personable and very honest guy, and I love it. It's great.
No, and like I said, I appreciate it when you started popping in and the fact that you knew my name and you were throwing my name out there when I show up on yours. Like I said, it helps bring eyes to the channel. And it's not me doing it. It's you saying, hey, you know what? Go check him out. So when you pop it on mine, I'm like, hey, you know what? Check his out. But you had a story to tell. And it's not just, hey, I collect this, I collect that. So that's
I
definitely why I
appreciate
wanted to have
you
you
having
on.
me, man. I'll be back anytime you want to have me.
We would definitely be doing some more stuff together. So anyway, thank you guys. Tomorrow, if you are a channel member, 10 p.m. members only stream, we'll be doing it. And then you know where to find me Monday night. I'll be back here rambling on for 3+ hours. Jay, thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.
Take care, guys.